everybody. Hope everybody is doing good this evening. Happy Friday. Happy embroidery. Happy hour, everyone. Today is Friday, and I am excited. Cannot wait to spend this hour with you guys. So, tonight's topic, what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about 5 areas that are the most common that people always have embroidery confusion about. So before we start though, okay, because I got a little sidetracked and stuff. Um, Welcome for those of you guys that are new. I'm Jeanette from Boricua Sewing and Crafts. Every Friday, 8 o'clock, I host Embroidery Happy Hour. And this is usually how I run it for those of you guys that are new. First hour, I always talk about the topic and, so that way everyone can learn. And then after that hour, I always like to go through the chat and always say hi to everybody and also answer any questions that anyone may have regarding the topic or anything else regarding the world of embroidery. Okay. So we're going to get started. So like I mentioned, the topic today is going to be the top 5 areas of embroidery confusion. So we're going to talk about these 5 areas, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat what they are, and then we're going to start and we're going to break them all down, okay? The first one we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the machinery, all right? Then we're also going to be talking about threads. We're going to be talking about needles. We're going to be talking about software. We're also going to be, the fourth thing we're going to talk about is stabilizer. And then the fifth thing that we're going to be talking about is hooping and fabrics. Those are the areas that a lot of people have a lot of questions about, a lot of issues. They're always confused, don't know what to do, or, one way or the other. So let's talk about all these 5s and let's break them down, okay? So the first one that I mentioned was machinery, okay? Now, as you guys know, there are a lot of brands and there's a lot of different types of machinery regarding embroidery. So there's always a lot of confusion, especially to folks that are very new to the game, and even those that have been in the game for a while, about the different types. And sometimes when you're in the market to purchase a new machine, sometimes you don't know what to get, right? Because sometimes you'll be like, okay, well, I'm using this, but I hear that a bunch of people are using that, and maybe I should do this or whatever. You get all confused. Now, I will tell you this, not all embroidery machines are the same. They all have different types of capabilities in them. So what has to happen is you're going to have to really think about what is the functionality that you want in a machine. And then you're going to have to look at all the different machines and look at their prices, look at what is it that they do, okay? Because even though, yes, they all do that one thing, which is embroidery, but how they do the embroidery can be a little different, okay? Like I'll give you an example. Some machines have cameras built into them, so they can actually scan the embroidery area, and they can tell you exactly where that embroidery design is actually going to fall in within your hoop. Some of them don't. Some of them use a laser, to show you exactly what that center point is. It depends on preference, okay? Some go pretty fast, some go, are a little slower, some have more needles versus others. So it really depends on what it is that you need in order for you to process the orders that you want to process. Okay. So, machines can be pretty confusing. I do have some videos out there where I kind of talk a little bit more in depth of the machine, where I kind of mention, I don't tell you guys what to buy, because that's one of the things I don't like to tell people, hey, you should get this or you should get that, because everybody's different, right? Everyone likes, wants to embroider different stuff. Everybody has a different learning curve, and not everyone's space is the same. Okay. Some people have more space than others. Some people prefer flatbeds versus multi-needle. So it's really a preference. So one of the things that I usually tell people is just to ask yourselves certain questions when you're in the market to buy a machine. Like, ask yourself, what functionality, like I stated before, what is it that you need? That, do you want a camera? Do you want to have a snowman feature? Are you more comfortable with a laser? Do you want, is one needle okay with you? Or do you need to have 10 needles or 15 or 20? Um, do you have the space for a big machine? If not, do you have like a table that maybe a flatbed would be more suitable? What are the type of items that you really are looking to embroider, right? Are you looking to do bags, or are you just looking to do baby onesies, or do you just like doing in the hoop projects and stuff like that? What size hoop do you really need? Okay, would a 4x4 hoop be sufficient for you? Maybe you need a 5x7. Or if you really like a lot of in the hoop projects, and sometimes they have in the hoop projects that kind of require a bigger hoop, sometimes like a 6x10 or maybe an 8x13. Maybe you need a machine that can that use those types of size hoops. So there are so many things that you have to consider regarding a machine. Now, do I think that one machine is better than the other? No, in my personal opinion, the machines are all just machines. Um, you know, the only thing that I tell people to really be careful about is to think about the longevity. And I think I said that word wrong. You guys know my English is sometimes like that. What I'm talking about is how long you have that machine. It's very similar to when you buy an embroidery machine. I think of it as a very similar process of when you're buying a car, right? You like the look, you like the features and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that a lot of people ask themselves is, how long will this car last? And what about the maintenance of this car? But that is one of the things that a lot of people, when they're buying embroidery machines, they don't think about that. They just think, oh, I'm going to buy an embroidery machine. It's going to embroider forever, and I'm never going to have to do any maintenance, or, I don't have to think about when it's going to die on me because the machine's going to outlive me. It's going to live forever, right? Well, it's not, okay? I mean, they do have the end of life cycle, right? Everything has an end of life cycle, including an embroidery machine. So one of the things that you want to do is you want to think long term, okay? You want to think to yourself, okay, I want to have this machine and I want to be able to use it for the next 15 or 20 years. I'm spending a lot of good money on this. So you have to ask yourself, how are you going to maintain that machine? Because let's get honest, okay? You have to maintain the machine. If you don't take care of your machine, it's not going to last. It is going to break down. It's going to give you a lot of problems. You really have to oil it, and you do have to do the annual maintenance. Sometimes you can probably, go a year and a half and do the annual maintenance that way. But it really depends on how often you use that machine. Me personally, I really do have to use it, maintain it annually. Sometimes I do have to do a little sooner because I do a lot of bulk orders. And when I work on the bulk orders, I do have these machines working a lot. So sometimes I really have to watch the trip time of all of my machines. And as soon as they hit the 500 mark, I have to have the maintenance guy come and actually work on my machines. So really think about all of that when you're looking at machines. They are all, I'm sure every machine is good. A lot of times too, you have to be careful when you're asking people of the opinions of the machine, because sometimes people can have a great opinion and some people can really be pissed off about a certain brand, right? And you don't know, right? Because the thing is, these businesses are in business, right? So someone's enjoying them, right? So sometimes you can run into someone who doesn't think highly of a certain brand, but it could be for several reasons, right? Maybe they had an experience with their customer support and they didn't feel that they had the the support that they needed to get. Maybe they didn't understand the machine, and they had a lot of user errors, and maybe they just got a lemon, right? I mean, you hear people buy cars all the time, and sometimes they get a lemon. So you just never know. So I always, to me personally, I always say, when you're making an investment as much, as high as these machines cost, because you're talking over, some of these machines are over 10 grand. Okay. Especially when you're going to the higher level, it's really best to actually try to get hands on if possible. If you're looking at a certain brand and you know someone that is using that brand, or ask around and say, hey, do you mind if I pay a visit so that I can see how the machine runs, just take a look at it, or even reach out to the vendor and see if there is someone close, so that way you could take a look at it and stuff like that. So I always tell people that this is a purchase you do not want to rush. Okay, this is something that you really want to take your time on. You want to do your research on, because at the end of the day, you're spending a whole lot of money, and the last thing you want is to buy something and then have a big regret about it, and not even be able to work it. Okay, that's really like a Debbie Downer. So you don't want that to happen to you. So so to me, it's like, take your time. Okay, take your time. It can be very confusing. It really can. So many different brands out there at so many different price levels, and every brand is different functions, right? So you really just have to sit down, think about it, just put them side by side and see which one you really feel is going to be the best for you. Okay. So now we're just talk a little bit about threads and needles. Okay. This is something that I get a question a lot. And I did do a video on the 60 weight versus the 40 weight. Now, regarding thread, there are so many different name brands out there. Okay. You got Materia, you got Candle, you got Florina, you got what else? Nanny Threads, you got Sim Threads, you got Brother Reed. They are just so many out there, right? And sometimes people are like, well, what's the best thread? Should I get this brand versus that brand? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, this is how I look at it, okay? Thread is thread. However, though, the type of thread that you select to work with will sometimes depend on the project that you are working on, okay? Now, let me break that down a little further for you, okay? I'll give you an example. Okay, let's talk about the holidays. In the holidays, usually the most popular colors are the red, the green, the gold, the white, right? Those is usually the four that are like the Christmas colors. Sometimes in a design, you can have let me see, I'll give you an example. Dinner napkins, right? Sometimes I embroider a lot of dinner napkins during the holidays. And sometimes what they want is they want like a Christmas tree, or they want an ornament, or, something really Christmassy on it. Usually for Christmas designs, I like to use shiny thread, because I want that design to have that extra spark. Because I wanted to have that extra spark, what I do is I use Florina thread. Now, Florina thread, and I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to pull out Florina thread for you. Sorry guys. Let's go to the thread rack here. Okay. The Farina thread does have, and I don't know if you can see it that good in camera, but this thread has a particular shine to it. Okay. So, my hair is all messed up. Sorry, guys. Okay. So I'm looking a mess. Okay. So because it has some kind of shine to it, right? When it starts to embroider, the design is going to really look nice in the light. There are also going to be times when shine really doesn't matter, okay? Because and in those situations it would be let's say you get a not a bath towel, like a swim towel, right? Somebody, they just want their swimming towel to be embroidered, they just want a name. in there, you could you easily use matted thread. And there might be some designs where people will come out and say, I want like a matted thread look. So in those situations, I usually go for polyester, and a lot of times I use candle thread or something like that. So matted thread is, well, this does have a little bit of shine, but not much. Hold on, I'm going to try to look for some matted thread for you so that you can see what I am talking about. Well, it has a little bit of shine. Oh, this has shine. Okay, this has some matte in here. All right, so there you go. Here's some matte right here. Okay, I'm pulling out all my threads. Okay, so this doesn't have too much of a shine to it, okay? And neither does this, okay, compared to the Florina, all right? Florina has a little more of that shine when it comes to the light. So a lot of times it depends on the design. Let me give you an example of a logo that I worked on, okay? And I'm going to show you where this is where I used shiny thread, okay? I don't know if you guys can see, and I want you guys to look real closely, especially at the blue. Now, the blue, I think in camera, I don't know if you see a little spark on there. I'm going to try to move it a little bit. But I think you do see it. I think you see a little bit of shine, especially if you look at this banner that's right here. When I move it, I think it shines a little bit. But this is actually Florina thread, okay? And now, is the whole thing Florina thread? No, it's not, okay? I want you guys to also look at the bottom. You see these words that are right here? That's not Florina, okay? This is actually matted thread, and this is 60 weight, okay? So when it comes to small letters, you want to be able to always use 60 weight thread. Now, why do I say that? I have 60 weight thread right there. Hold on. Let me cut out some 60 weight thread for you real quick. I should have had it. I thought about it, and let me cut it. I got it on the machine right here. All right, here we go. All right, so 60 weight thread. How do I know that it's 60 weight thread? This is Madeira, okay? And it actually says the 60 right there, okay? And then this is the number of the color, all right? But this is Madeira. Now, when you look at the thread, okay, if you were to look at it side by side, I'm not sure if it's really good on camera, but this is much thinner than this, okay? This is 40 weight. This is 60 weight, okay? Now, the one thing that I want to let you know, could I have used 40 weight to write this lettering on here? I could have. However, though, this would have looked thicker. And these small letters that you see on the bottom, okay? See how small they are? And look at, and the top two right here, the last name, that is small too. All right. Now you want small fonts to really look clear. Okay. You need them to look clear. I'll give you another example of that. Here's another company that I work with. Okay. This is 40 weight. Okay. This is 40 weight. Belford was the one at the bottom, 60 weight. When I use the 60 weight at the bottom, okay, I also use this needle, which is the 65.9. Now, why do I use the 65.9? The 65.9 needle is much thinner. And because it's thinner, it actually pokes smaller holes into the fabric with the thin thread. So it's going to, if you really look at this, look how clear this is. You can actually read it. It looks really, really clear, okay? However, though, if I had took black 40 weight thread and I ended up using 7511 needle, which this is the regular embroidery needle that I use, which is a 7511, then what would have happened is this would not look so clear. Okay, it would look pretty thick. It would look pretty thick, and it really would not have been easy on the eye. So you have to really know when to use what type of thread and with what type of needle. There is another type of thread that people love to embroider with, and that's called metallic thread. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you, this thread is not cheap. Okay. It is not cheap. It is not something that I use a lot, but I do sometimes have customers come and say, I really want that extra shine, right? So what I do is I use the metallic thread. Now, this is the one that I got from Madeira. Okay. And this is actually really, really good. The only issue with this, okay, is that it's different. It's different when you use this for embroidery. You do have to slow down your machine, and there is such a thing as a metallic needle. So I recommend that you use that metallic needle when you're using this thread, and you have to make sure that you slow down the machine. The reason why you want to do that is because this thread is not, it's more like a wire, right? It has a wiry feel to it. And because it feels like a wire, if you go ahead and you start stitching at 1,000 stitches per minute, even though you have a metallic thread in there, chances are it's going to snag and it's going to snap on you. And then what's going to happen is you're going to be rethreading your needle several times, and you're going to have to stop it. So usually what I'll do is I'll run this at a very low speed, and I take my time. I use a metallic thread, and I usually babysit the machine. Now, if a customer asks that they want this type of thread, I usually charge extra for it because of that simple fact, because I do have to slow down the machine, and it's going to take longer to embroider, and I do have to babysit it. And it's not very easy to embroider with this. But it's doable. Okay, I know people that have done this a lot. This is the Madeira brand. There is another brand that is really, really good called Kingstar. That one is also very good as well. Other I think Sim Thread also has a metallic thread, and Brother Reed has a metallic thread as well. Theirs is a little more on the delicate side, okay, because when you're embroidering, it kind of snags more often. So even though I have that thread and I did try it and stuff, I actually like the Madeira and the King Star thread a lot better. I feel like this kind of somehow, it doesn't snag as much. It doesn't snap. And so it's just better for me. It works better for me. I'm not saying those brands aren't good, because I'm sure if you run them really slow or whatever, it works fine. But also, metallic thread can be kind of tricky depending on the design that you're using as well. If you have a design that has a lot of detail and you're restitching in areas that have already been stitched, that sometimes puts a little extra pull on the thread. And then what happens is it can snap. Okay. So, just be aware of that. When it comes to the type of threads and which ones you should use, if you should use a more shiny look or a metallic look, if you should use a metallic and stuff, one of the things that I always tell people to do is try to well, not really try, you really should. You should always test stitch your designs. I find that a lot of times people don't want to do that because they say, well, I don't want to do it because it's time consuming. Yeah, it is. But however, though, the way I see it is it depends on, how important it is to you on how that end product looks. Like, for example, if I was just doing something for a family or a friend, most likely I'm not going to test stitch it. However it comes out, it's going to be fine. I'm sure they're going to love it regardless. But if I am working for a customer, okay, and this is a customer order, my reputation means everything to me. I always want to make sure that I always give the best quality product that leaves my shop. So in those situations, when it comes to customers, I always do a test stitch, okay? Because I want to see what it's going to look like, and I want to make sure that the customer's aware of what the design is going to look like as well. Because, to me, it may look great, but then if I show it to the customer, they may come out and say, you know what, that red is not the red that I wanted. You know what, I don't like the matte look. Do you have that color that's shiny or something like that? And then that way I can make whatever adjustments I need to make. And then I know that at the end of the day, the customer, when they come to pick up their items, they're going to be super happy with it. So if you're not sure of whether, you should be using um a matted thread, or if you should be using a thread that has a little shine to it, always do a test stitch to your design so that way you could see what the outcome's going to look like. However, though, when it comes to what weight thread I should be using, that's something that you're going to learn through experience. But I am going to tell you something. Designs, it depends on the design. Okay, I know a lot of people don't like it when I say that, but the thing is, it's true. Okay, because, and I'm gonna give you some examples. Okay, I'm gonna give you some examples of some logos and stuff. And I had a new customer recently. Where is this thing? I had it in my hand. Now I don't know where I put it. Oh man. Okay. All right. Where did it go? Oh, there he is. Okay. Now, um, let's look at this design, because this is a design where I had to use a 7511, 65-9, 40 and 60 weight thread. Okay. So I like to show these designs to folks because, and I want to try to get a little pointer here. I'll just use my pen so I can point this to you. And I'm going to get a little close to the camera because I want you guys to really see, so that you guys have an understanding of when to use what, right? Because that can get kind of confusing. A lot of times what happens is you'll buy like a box of threads, and normally the box of embroidery threads are 40 weight. And if you need a particular color to be a 60 weight, you're going to have to kind of order that, right? This is usually like the 60 weight thread, which is why I like ordering them from Madeira, because Madeira, they have a pretty good collection of the 60 weight thread that matches their 40 weight. Okay, but let's run down this logo. Now I have a friend of mine. He has a construction company, and he asked me to do a couple of shirts for his company, which I did. And this is his logo. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys exactly how we did this logo and stuff like that. So I'm gonna break it down to you. Okay. Now, I want you guys to look at the house, okay? You see the white area here, and the G and the S, and then you have the roof over here. And I also want you guys to look at it a little bit closely, because here you're going to see there's like an outline, okay? Now, this was not the final product, because what we did was we kind of changed up on the designs a little bit. I'll tell you exactly what I changed. You look at the outline of the roof right here. We made this a light blue, and then we kept this blue right here. Now, I want you guys to know that everything that you see on the top of this logo, all of this is 40 weight thread, okay? All of it. The white is 40 weight. The blue is 40 weight. The outline of this roof is 40 weight. And so is this S, okay? And then you see the little windows right here. That is 40 weight as well. However, though, I want you guys to look at the name right here, Customs Remodelers LLC. This is all done with 60 weight thread, 65-9 needle. This needle, okay, with a 60 weight thread. The reason why is because of the lettering being very, very small. Okay. You need this lettering to be clear. So if someone wears it, okay, and you approach me, I want them to be able to read that. They're not going to be able to read this if you use a 40 weight thread. The thread is too thick. And at the same time, if you use a 7511 needle, okay, this needle is bigger. Okay, so what's going to happen is the hole that it makes in the shirt is going to be bigger as well. Okay, so you want it to look clean and crisp. So when it comes to small lettering like this, you make sure that you're using a 60 weight thread with a 60 weight thread with a 65-9 needle. Everything else on top, 40 weight, 75-11. And as you can see, came out nice and clear. Okay. I'm also going to show you another one. This one, I think, for those of you guys that have watched me for some time, you guys have seen me share this logo as well. This is another logo that I use, that I do for the women's club. And this is their logo. Okay. Now, let me break this down, okay? You see this red that's about around here, right? And the black, okay? And even the outline, all 40 weight. All of it is 40 weight. When it comes to services, strength, and sisterhood, this lettering right here, okay, that you see right here, this lettering, also established in 27, okay? 60 weight. All of it is 60 weight, okay? And then when you see this, the lettering right up here and the lettering up here, 60 weight. Okay, so when I have these types of designs, okay, and you're going to come across them, you're going to have designs where you got to look at the details of it and you have to break it down and say, okay, what are the parts of the design that can be done in a 40 weight thread, and what is it that I have to get a 60 weight thread in the design. So you have to learn the designs and stuff. There, you're going to have some logos where you can do 40 all the way, because I've had those. Like, for instance, this is a logo, okay, from a company that I worked with. 40 weight, SK. Well, it's supposed to be, that's, S, whatever, right? Straight, big enough, clear, 40 weight, no problem. Okay. Here's another one that had to be mixed as well. These were pretty big. These letters are pretty big. They were okay in the 40 weight. Oh no, I'm sorry. Misspoke. Sorry. No, this is 60 weight. All these right here, 60 weight. What's 40 weight is what you see in here. Just want you guys to see that. See how established 1999 looks? Nice and clear. Okay? So that's why it's important. It's important for you guys to know when you should be using 60 weight versus 40 weight. It can be very, very confusing. And then sometimes what happens is people will just do a whole design of 40 weight, because think about it. Look how small established and 1999 is. If you use a 40 weight on that, you're not going to be able to read it. It's not going to be clear, okay? So a lot of times people think, oh, let me just get the logo. I get it digitized. They put it in the machine. They don't think about the what kind of weight thread I should be using, or even the needle size. And then what happens is when they do this, it doesn't come out that great. And then, the customer's not happy, and then you're not happy, and then sometimes people even think, oh, well, maybe it's a digitizing problem. Maybe, the person didn't digitize it right. And it's not a digitizing problem. Is the issue is you're not using the right thread weight. Okay. So a lot of times that is what happens. People will go back to the digitizer and say, no, it didn't stitch out right. As a matter of fact, it did stitch out right. You just didn't use the right stuff. But a good digitizer, guys, a really good digitizer would be able to help and figure that out. Okay. And be able to tell you, hey, what weight thread are you using? And then they would be able to come out and say, nope, for that type of design, you need to do a 60 weight. Here's another design that I did for another customer, their logo. And I want you to pay attention to something that you would think would be so small, but it's part of detail. Okay. You have to pay attention to detail. I want you to look at the dog, and I want you to see right here. All of these are cigars. Okay. I'm going to put it real close so you guys can see that. Look at what it looks like. I don't know if it's bullets or a cigar. I don't know. But notice how it has like those lines, right? So it's like it needs to break it down. So what it is that's 60 weight. That's 60 weight right there. That portion had to be done in 60 weight in order for it to look nice and clear. Okay, see how nice and clear it came out? Now, the rest of the dog, the body right here, okay, the rest of the dog right here, that's all 40 weight. This is 40 weight, okay? And this is all 40 weight. But like I said, that little portion right here, okay, had to be 60 weight. So that way the thread is not so thick that you could see the division between the items. I think they're bullets. I'm not sure. I don't know what it is, but I didn't ask. So I was just saying, okay. And stuff. So and now let me see. Let's give you more examples, okay? All right. This one. It's a patch that I did for a customer. This is all 40 weight. The design of the dog is all 40 weight, okay? All this lettering. And I want you to notice how clear it is. You can read it, okay? Very, very clear. All the lettering is 60 weight. All of it with a 65.9 needle. The ones you see over here, 40 weight with a 75.11. And the outline can be 75.11. And all of this is embroidered as well. The inner, the patch. And that's 75.11, 40 weight. This is 40 weight. This is 40 weight. Just the lettering I had to do in 65.9 needle with 60 weight thread. Okay, so I think I beat that down to death, talking about the threads and the needles. Okay, let's talk a little bit about software, okay? Because I know the big one we're going to be talking about mostly is the last two, which is stabilizers and hoops and fabrics, okay? There are lots of softwares out there, okay? Now, are you going to need software if you want to do embroidery? My recommendation is it depends on what it is that you want to do. If you are going to be offering embroidery as a business, you are going to need to get some type of embroidery software, because you're going to sometimes have to make adjustments to certain designs, and you might have to create your own designs, right? So there are a lot of software, embroidery softwares that are out there. Some can be inexpensive, some can be extremely expensive, okay? So what I really recommend that you do is go and look up some of the softwares. I use in Brilliance. The thing is, my hands kind of tied to using in Brilliance because I use Macs, right? So in Brilliance is like the only thing that'll work on a Mac. I have not been able to find anything else that works on Macs. So hold on. Let's see. I'm sorry. You were saying 40 weight on everything except the cigars. Yes. Okay. Including the black detail on the dog. Okay. The black detail on the dog is 40 weight, Leslie. Okay, let's look at this again. I'm sorry. I know I'm supposed to be hitting the comments at the end, but Leslie's question just popped out at me. Okay. Let's the whole design. The whole design, think of it, 40 weight, the whole design. The only thing that I used is 65, 9, and 60 weight thread on was the cigars. Okay. The reason why is because this is very, very small, right? It's very, very small. So that those lines had to be created with 60 weight thread. Everything else on this 40 weight. Even the wrinkles on the dog. The wrinkles on the dog, all 40 weight. The Q, the outline, all of it, 40 weight. Just the cigars. The cigars is what, and it's the outline of the cigar. The inside of the cigar where you see the white and you see the red, that's 40 weight. It was just that outline. Okay, where I needed to draw the lines so that I could make the cigars, that's where I had to use the 60 weight thread. Okay, that's, just so you understand, because I needed that to really be defined. Okay, so I hope that helps. Let me get some water. Throat's getting a little dry. So Leslie, I hope that helps. Okay, back to software. I use it Brilliance because I use the Mac. However, there's a lot of different ones out there. Okay, the thing with the software, and this is the thing that I tell people, is it depends what you're comfortable with and how you're learning. What I usually recommend is I tell people look up different types of software. The ones that I've heard of is I heard of one called So What Pro. I'm not familiar with it though. I never used it. So What Pro, Brilliance is the one that I use. I've heard of Hatch, but I think Hatch is more for digitizers. I could be wrong. But there's a lot of out there. So what I usually do is, one of the things that I tell people is, YouTube can be such a wonderful place to get information. It really, truly is. So usually what I tell people to do is, if you're interested in a particular software, then try to go on YouTube or even on the software's website and see the questions, ask them questions about the support, and see if they have a free downloadable, a free version you can download. So that way you can play with it and see if you like it. Okay. If you have the free version and you're finding like, oh, this is kind of hard. I don't even know how to open a file, or I don't understand these buttons and stuff. And then you go on YouTube and you really don't see too many videos out there on how to teach people how to use it and stuff like that. And they're not offering any classes and everything. I don't recommend then investing in it, for the simple fact that you don't want to buy this software and then all of a sudden it's just sitting on your machine, because now you can't use it. You want to be able to have software that you understand and you can use. I'm still learning how to use Brilliance every day. I love going on YouTube. I like to listen to Lisa Shaw. I think she likes to, she has a lot of videos on how to use Brilliance. When I went to the sewing and quilt show, last year with my sister. Me and my sister took some Embrilliance classes. Those are pretty helpful too. There's always something new that you can always learn. And I for me personally, I found it user friendly. And thank goodness, because there was really nothing else out there that could run on a Mac. So for me, and Brilliance works, but I always I always want to say for me, okay, everyone learns different. Everybody has different desires on what it is that they want to do with embroidery. So I am not a digitizer. I honestly have absolutely no interest in learning how to digitize. However, though, I do sometimes have to make modifications to designs. So I know enough where I can do tweaks to a design, but I also have a list of digitizers that I work with where if I have a design that really needs some changes that I really don't know how to implement, then what I will do is I'll reach out to my digitizer and I will go ahead and have them do it. It's just, digitizing to some people is easy. For me, I did take a class, but I wasn't able to focus too much on it, in all honesty. So I feel maybe it's something that I could revisit when I'm not working full time and I'm retired. Maybe that's when I could do that. I really don't have the time right now to learn it, to really, sit down and put the effort to actually learn how to digitize. So right now I get orders, and when my orders come in, I usually have to take their logos and their company logos, and I have to get them digitized. And for me to do that from scratch, it's just not my thing. I just don't know how to do it. So I usually reach out to digitizers and I have them do the work for me. Software can be easy and it can be kind of difficult to work with. So I always tell people, just get the software that you feel comfortable with and that's actually going to meet your needs. I'm more of a machinist. That's really my cup of tea. I love turning on the machines. I love setting up the machines. I actually like hooping the garments and changing the needles, the threads, and all that kind of stuff, and just doing it. Okay. I just don't have the time to really learn it right now. Maybe, and I'm saying maybe I'll learn digitizing later on, but right now I'm not. And I'm so focused in making sure that my customers get really good quality work that I would prefer to have a professional do it, that I know this is their cup of tea. This is they live and breathe this stuff. So I know that I can give them a logo and they have a fast enough they can fast, the turnaround is fast. Usually it takes about like 2 or 3 days, depending on the design though. Sometimes I had one design that took actually several digitizers to work on. And I don't know if you guys know, it was a dog. This isn't the final either. This was one of our test stitches. And as you can see, we were having problems with the mouth of the dog at the time. We finally got that resolved. But the rest of the artwork was beautiful. It was just the head that we really had to focus on. And I had several people looking at this, and I was finally able to find a digitizer that specialized on portraits, and they were able to get the head done. And oh my God, yeah, I was just so grateful to have finally found him, and my customer was just so thrilled and happy. So, with the final product. So, you know, the software, there's just so many out there. So usually what I tell people is, just get what you're comfortable working with. And they come in different price ranges also. All right, like I know with Brilliance, it's like you start off, the first one that you buy is Brilliance Essentials, and that's where you can do some modifications to a design. And then later on, if you want to add more functionality, you can then add modules, and each module, has a certain price. So one of the things that I will say that I do like about the Brilliance that I use is that you could just purchase the modules that you need. Okay. And I know lots of people that all they did was just got essentials, and brilliance essentials, and they just rock with that. And they're like, this is all I need. I don't need anything else. And then I also do know some people that they got that and then they just added enthusiasts because they wanted to add some knockdown stitches, you know. And then some people like to do the patches, so they add the patch module. So you kind of get to, like, create your own software in a way, right? So it's like you just buy the modules that you want. There are some software too out there that it's like you got to get the whole chalana, right? It's like $2,000 and you get everything. And the thing that I don't like about that is that sometimes you don't need everything, right? Like me right now, I'm not a digitizer, so I really don't need to have all that other stuff because it's not something that I want to do right now, right? So for someone that's just starting out and all they want to do is just embroider, essentials works great. If you just want to do personalization and stuff like that, you just do get essentials. Now when I purchased it, I think it was like $129 back then. I think it may be 139 or 149. I'm not sure. Everything's going up, right? So I'm sure the price went up. But you know you got to really look at a different type of embroideries. Now if you have a Windows machine, you're kind of like luckier than I am because I'm a Mac girl. Everything that I have in my home is all Apple. So I was kind of stuck in that situation, but it kind of worked out, thankfully, because I do like working with embroiderings and stuff. All right, so now that I touched a little bit on the software, let's talk about the last two that I have, which is stabilizers, and let's talk about hooping and the fabrics. Okay, that is where a lot of confusion from everybody, especially the newbies, and even people that have been embroidering for some time. They have confusion about it too. Okay, and the reason is because there are so many different types. So let's talk about stabilizers for a moment. Okay, when I first started, all I did was I bought my machine, my little box of embroidery thread, which was like 63 in the box, and then I bought a pack of tearaway stabilizer. So I knew very little about embroidery in the beginning. Okay, so I thought that was all you needed. But as I started to embroider, and I even started to, do things for myself, and I started washing items that I embroidered and stuff, I kind of learned the hard way that there is a particular reason why when you go to an embroidery shop, they actually have like shelves, okay, of dedicated different types of stabilizers. It's not because they ain't got, they just wanted to buy it. There's a purpose for every single one. So the tricky part where a lot of people get confused is, when do you know what to use what? Now, this is something that I always use as a rule of thumb. When you are embroidering something, if it is going to be getting washed several times, and I'm talking about getting washed a lot, like let's say this shirt, right? I have this shirt and I'm going to take this logo and I'm going to put it on this shirt, right? And we all know that people usually wear shirts maybe once or twice, sometimes three times before they decide, okay, now it's time to wash it, right? So you know that this shirt is probably, especially if it's like my favorite shirt, it's probably going to be in the wash probably 3 or 4 times, maybe a month. Okay, if I'm doing laundry every week. When you wash clothes, right, and you have embroidery on there, you got to remember this is thread, right? And depending on the design, sometimes you have designs that are very dense. Okay, a dense design is something called similar to this. Okay, if you look at it, you see that there is a lot of different colors. You really don't see any spacing between these stitches at all. Okay, it looks like a solid piece. there's a lot of stitching that's involved in here. So this is really considered like a dense design. If you were to take something like this and you just use cutaway stabilizer, and then I go and I put it on my shirt, and then I go and I put it in the washing machine, and then I put it in the dryer, and then I take it out of the dryer, chances are what's going to happen is this is going to be like this, all like crumbled up, right? And then what's going to happen is if it's you, it's not a big deal, okay? Because you'll probably know how to fix it, right? But if it's a customer that has purchased this embroidery from you and paid good money for it and put it in the washing machine, whatever, and they see that it crumbled up like that, chances are you're going to get a phone call. They're going to be like, what the heck happened, right? So what you really need to know what stabilizer to use. Now let's think a little bit about stabilizer. What is the meaning of it and why is it that we use it in the first place? Stabilizer is a piece of fabric or paper, if you think about tearaway, and what it is it lays against the fabric and you start to sew. And when you are sewing through the actual fabric, and then you're actually sewing through the stabilizer. Now, what's the purpose of a stabilizer? If you think about it, look at the name, stabilizer. Is to stable it, okay, so that it can stabilize the thread, keep the thread nice and solid and in place. All right. So if you if you know that the purpose of a stabilizer is so that threads can stay in its place, all right, to hold up that design, you have to then think about the type of stabilizer that I want to hold up that design. What is it that I need, right? So if you have something like this, okay, first of all, first thing I think of is how dense is the design going to be? Okay, that's the first question that I ask myself. This looks like it's going to be very dense, okay, and it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use one sheet, I'm going to use two. And if you want, you could even use 3 sheets if you want, okay? I have seen embroiderers sometimes use 3 sheets because they want to make sure that their design can really hold its look, right? And I already know that if I'm putting it on this shirt is going to go in the washing machine several times, okay? And then also I'm going to let the customer know embroidered items, you shouldn't be putting it in a dryer high, okay? It should be tumbled low, all right? And also if they do come out of the washing machine a little crumpled, what you can do is I always tell the customer what you do is take the design, lay it flat. Take another piece of fabric. You never, ever, I don't care what anybody tells you, you do not take an iron, okay, and just iron on top of the embroidery thread. You don't want to do that, okay, because you can burn the design, and if you burn the design, you can discolor it and all that kind of stuff. So what you do is take another piece of fabric. Let's just make believe that let's make believe this is a piece of fabric, okay, even though it has a thing. This is plain fabric. Just place it on top and then take a hot iron and then just smooth it out. And then when you do that, then take out the fabric and you'll notice that this is just as good as new, okay? But if it is going to be washed a lot of times, then you need to use cutaway stabilizer. Okay, and depending on the design, sometimes you may want to put more than one sheet. Okay, now there are different types of weights of stabilizer as well. You have lightweight, you have medium weight, you have heavyweight. Okay, if you are using heavyweight stabilizer, okay, that's cutaway, there's no need to double up because the stabilizer that you're adding to this in the back of this is already thick. Okay, I usually use medium weight, and because I'm using medium weight when it comes to designs like this, all I do is I'll put 2 sheets because it's kind of like the same as having a heavyweight. Okay. I usually don't buy lightweight cutaway stabilizer because a lot of my logos, as you can see, they are kind of dense. Okay. As you can see, this is all dense and stuff. And then sometimes I do patches. Okay. And with the patches, I use twill. This is another example. I know I'm getting a little off track, but this is another example of all of this lettering right here is 60 weight. The reason why it's 60 weight is because of the thinness. It's thin words, thin letters. And you want them to be nice and clear. Okay, so that's why I use the 60 weight and stuff. All here is 40 weight. This is all 40 weight. Okay, now, and if I was to put this on a jacket or or an apron, which I've done for this company, I use cutaway stabilizer. Okay, because it is thick, it is very dense. As you can see, there's no spacing in any of the stitches and stuff, so you want to make sure that it holds. Okay, that it holds and stuff like that. Okay. Can you use cutaway on a hand towel? You can. Mr. I usually use tearaway on a hand towel, but there's a reason, and I'll tell, I'm gonna get back, Miss Joseph. I will get back to your question. Trust me, at the end, okay? And if I don't, scream it out on the chat, and I'll get to you, because we're gonna talk a little bit about the towels on that, okay? Now, there's tearaway, there's cutaway, there's no-show mesh. No-show mesh is usually stabilizer that you use if you have something that you're embroidering on that's kind of thin material. I don't know if you guys have seen, sometimes you'll have like a white shirt and then people want you to embroider on it. And remember what I told you, when you have a shirt and stuff and you're going to be throwing it in the wash a lot, you sometimes you want to use something that's going to be very, very, very stable. Oh, Mellow, where's Mellow? We'll bring Mellow out, Iris. Hang in there. So the thing is, you don't want the stabilizer to be so thick that when the person puts it on, it's kind of like lightweight, and then you see the white stabilizer behind the shirt, right? It looks a little tacky, right? So that's why you use no-show mesh and stuff. What else I got? We got sticky stabilizers. Sticky stabilizers is something that I usually use when I have to float an item. Okay. Because it's sticky and I don't want the fabric or the item to shift in any way. All right. That's when you would use the sticky stabilizer. And let me share something with you guys too. I'm going to share a screen because I think this is going to be extremely helpful for you guys. I'm going to share this right here because I want to share. There you go. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this. Let me see. Yes, you can. Okay, good. I wanted to take a peek so that you guys can see. This is an article, okay? And let me just show you guys real quick, okay? This is something that I have printed out, and I highly recommend you guys do this. If you guys are new watching, if you guys are old and have been watching me for a couple of years now, you guys know that I've been talking about this, okay? But I haven't mentioned it in a while. This is called Fabrics 101 and Stabilizer, okay? And I'm going to tell you, this is an article that I highly recommend you guys print out. All right. And I'm going to share the screen again because I want you guys to see where I actually got this from. Now, if you guys were to do Google, okay, and you guys Google this right here, Fabrics 101 Stabilizer and Design Guide, you will find this. This is actually in embroiderylibrary.com. Okay, I don't think you guys can see the URL of that, but if you're part of my Facebook group, I also have that linked in one of the guides in the group, so that way you guys can get to this as well. I want to scroll down this article because I want you guys to see something that can be very helpful to you. In here, this article, and I hope you guys can see it. Oh, yes, you can. Okay. I know the font looks a little small, but I'm going to read it out so you guys can see what it says. Here on the headings, you have fabric, then you have stabilizer backing, you have design, and you also have needle. Okay. Now, one of the things that I like about here is it talks on the first column, it talks about the different types of fabric. All right. So we're going to look at, let's see, let's pick one here. All right, let's pick All right. Let's see. They did modify this. I have an older one. It had more. Okay, denim. Let's look at denim. Okay. It says here denim. And then here on the second column, it says cutaway. Then it says any. And it says to use a 7511 sharp needle. Now, let's talk about this for a little bit. Okay. Let's talk about this for a little bit because that kind of, I have the article in front of me because I want to, when I talked a little bit about the needles, there was something that I should have mentioned to you guys. There are two types of needles that a lot of times people use for embroidery. There's something called ballpoint and there's also sharp. There is a difference between those two. And it's very important that you know what they are. And I'm going to tell you why. Ballpoint, the point of that needle is rounded. So when it pricks inside of your fabric, what it does is it moves the fabric aside so it can go through. Okay? Remember, ballpoint. That means that the point is rounded. So when it goes down the fabric, it kind of moves the fabric and then it'll just start sewing. The other one is called sharp. You really need to know about the sharp. The sharp means that the point of that needle is not round. So when it hits that fabric, whatever fabric is in front of that sharp, the point of that sharp needle, it's going to cut it. It's going to cut the fabric. All right. So if you have fabric that is knitted like a shirt like this, where this has little stretch in it, you never want to cut your fabric. Okay. You need a ballpoint because what will happen is if you use a sharp, it's going to cut this fabric and you may not see it right away. When you finish embroidering, it's going to look great. But after a couple of washes, you're going to see the deterioration of the shirt. Because what happened was while you were embroidering that shirt and you used that sharp needle, what happened is you were cutting the fibers. Okay, you were cutting the fibers and then it's going to start to dissolve and it's not going to be good. Okay. So when it talked about jeans, okay, I want you to think of fabric as, think of jean fabric. Jean fabric, I use a sharp needle. Why? Because it's tough. It's a tough fabric. Okay. There is no stretch. This has stretch. Okay. So you don't want to cut any fibers there. When you are embroidering a baseball hat, that's tough. Okay, that's tough fabric. There's no stretch to it or anything like that. You can't do that. Same thing like with jean jackets. Some jean jackets have a little stretch, and because some jeans they kind of make them with the stretch. This is something I want to tell you guys. If you are not sure if you should be using a sharp, a ballpoint, pick ballpoint because there you're safe. It's still going to embroider fine. Okay. It's still going to embroider fine. The only reason why people sometimes pick the sharp needle is because of the toughness of the fabric. If you feel that the the ballpoint is going to have a tough time embroidering on that fabric, then what you do is just slow down the machine. Just slow it down. That way it's not banging so much. It's not banging so hard. So just instead of doing it 1,000 stitches a minute, just slow down the machine to 700. Just slow it down and you'll be fine. But you got to be careful with the sharp needles. Okay. A lot of people don't realize that sharp needles actually cut the threads. The fibers get cut. So you want to be conscientious of that. Okay. Now, where was it? We were talking about the jeans, right? Okay. So I want to make sure, I'm glad I looked at that one because it did say that. Okay. So back over to the denim, right? It says use cutaway. The reason why is because it's clothes. You might end up washing it a lot. If you're going to wash it a lot, you want to make sure that it's stable, right? As for this is the design, right? And the other thing also is you got to remember in some fabrics, you can use, a thick design. In some fabrics, you may not. You know why? Because you could end up with puckering. Puckering is when you have a design and then all of a sudden it's so thick or dense that it starts, it starts to fold on you, right? It doesn't take the stretch well, right? And it's not going to be like flat, good, it's not going to look smooth. Okay. So you're going to get puckering. Let's see. It also tells you, here you go. I don't know what kind this is, Shamanos or whatever. You use cutaway any, but be cautious of running stitch designs like red work. That may get lost in the nap of the fabric. Okay, so there. Okay, here we go. All right, so some fabrics have if you guys have watched any of the videos where I have done blankets, it has like a lot of fuzz or fluff, right? You have to really be conscientious of the designs or the fonts that you use when you're embroidering on certain things. Blankets is one of them. Sometimes the blankets end up having like a lot of fluff on it, a lot of a lot of fur, like this, there's stuff in there. And when you're embroidering, the thread can get lost in there. So what ends up happening is, I'm not saying you can't embroider on fabric that is kind of fuzzy and stuff like that, but there's going to be certain things, adjustments that you're going to have to make. For instance, you may have to use water soluble stabilizer, which is like the plastic that you put over, it, and like this. Okay, it's plastic, and you put it over, and then what happens is the embroidery goes on top of this. However, though, there is something that you need to be aware of. This is called water soluble stabilizer. So think about the name. That means that when you take it out of the machine, it's going to look beautiful because the embroidery is sitting on top of the stabilizer. However, the moment you take that garment and you put it in the washing machine, this is water soluble. So what's going to happen to it? It's going to disappear. And it's also going to disappear the parts that are underneath the threads that you just embroidered. So what's going to happen is that stabilizer is no longer going to be there. So as time goes on, that's if the threads may end up sinking into the fabric. Okay. So that's one of the things that I say when you are embroidering, and you got to be conscientious of what you're embroidering on, how the item is going to be used long term, because it may look beautiful when you pop it out of the machine, but when the customer takes it home, they're going to be smiling. But after a couple of washes, that smile may not be that bright. And then I'm going to be like, what happened? Okay. So you need to be able to understand what each stabilizer does, how it's used, okay, the longevity of the stabilizer itself, okay. So when you are embroidering something, you know what you're doing, and you can also share that information with the customer, okay. That is why I always like to meet my customers. I mean, a lot of times, some customers, and those are the ones that I usually say, you know what, this relationship ain't gonna work out, because I like to have a conversation with them. I need them to understand what they're getting, okay? And I like to give them care instructions. And now there is some embroidery that is really not a big deal, okay? It's really not a big deal. It's going to be fine. But then there are other embroidery that, there's going to be some special care that needs to happen in order for this item to keep looking great. Okay, so I need that customer to understand that. And that's where I like to have that conversation with the customer, let them know, hey, I understand you got this big fluffy blanket. You want it embroidered. This is the font you want. It's a very thin font. It's not going to look good after a couple of washes. I'm going to let you know right now. However, there are things that we can do so that you can get that embroidered with that font, and it's going to last you a long time. And some of the options is, the knockdown stitches, sometimes using embossed design files. Okay, and I do have a video on the channel. Okay, if you do a search for knockdown stitches and embossed, which is ENBOSS, design files, it'll show you how you can do bath towels, because this is very common, especially with bath towels. A lot of times people like to get their bath towels embroidered with their initials, and they like to give them as gifts for weddings and all that kind of stuff. Well, sometimes what they have these fonts, right? It's a thin font. They say, well, Jeanette, I just want the initials on this bath towel. Well, I just tell them, nope, it's not going to work. And I explain why. And I say, because after a couple of washes, it's not going to look good. However, though, I do tell them, I say, if this isn't something that's going to be used, if it's just a core item, okay, then it's not a problem, because this is not something that's going to be washed often. This is just something that they're going to be using as a display piece. Not a problem then. I'm good with that. But I always want the customer to know that, how things need to be cared for. When I add knockdown stitches, that costs more too, because that makes the process longer. And I have to design the knockdown stitches along with whatever other design they want on the towel. Because what happens is knockdown stitches means that I'm going to create like a platform, right, of all stitches, right? I'm going to make like a box or something on the stitches, because I want to flatten the fabric so I can have a solid piece so that I can embroider on top of that. Okay, so it's like I lay out a whole bunch of threads to kind of like create like a floor, and then on the floor, then I have the design embroider on top of that. So that way they can wash it 100 times and it's going to look gorgeous. You know what I'm saying? So you have to know what stabilizer to use. Okay. You have to know the design. There's just so much. And I know probably some of you guys, especially the new folks out here that are watching me and saying, oh my God, this is a lot. Trust me, you're going to get it. It all comes with experience. I didn't know this overnight. Okay. Remember, I told you guys in the beginning, I just bought a machine and one pack of tearaway stabilizer, and I thought this was it. And then next thing you know, I started learning about, I started embroidering my shirts, and then I put them in the wash, and they came out, they were all like wrinkled. And I was like, what the heck? Then I learned that, the reason why the embroidery didn't look good anymore is because I used tearaway stabilizer and I needed cutaway. And then as I started to embroider more shirts, I started, you start seeing that sometimes people will give you a shirt that's thick, okay, like a sweatshirt. Some people will give you a polo shirt that's thin, polyester. You have different types of fabric, right? So because you have different types of fabric, you're going to have different types of stabilizer, and depending on the fabric, it's going to determine the stabilizer along with the design. And then the design is going to determine what needles you use and also what thread weights you use. So as you can see with me explaining all of this right there, this is why I tell people it's a skill. It really is a skill. It's something that you learn with experience, okay? So that's why I tell people when if you want to do this, this is great and I encourage it, but you have to learn it. You have to take the time and understand what it really is. And as you start to practice and as you start learning about the different types of stabilizers and everything, that is when you start to get better. And you're going to get to the point where a customer can bring an item to you and all you got to do is look at it and you'll be like, oh, okay. Now there is something also that I'm going to have a customer come tomorrow. She wants, she's bringing me a bunny. She wants me to embroider the ear of the bunny. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, we're in January and people are already approaching me for Easter. And I'm like, wow, I hope, I guess this year's going to go by quick. I don't know. So anyway, she shared with me 2 pictures and it had the bunny ear. And I'm going to do a video. I'm going to videotape that order tomorrow when she comes and she brings the item to me. And I'm going to explain what I'm doing and how I'm going to embroider that bunny ear. I'm going to show you guys how you could do it on a single needle machine and also on a multi-needle. And that's a perfect video for me to explain to you about knockdown stitches and why you should use it and all that good stuff. Okay. Oh, Chinese New Year, Rabbit of the Year. Maybe that's what it is. Okay. Thanks, Margie. I just saw she posted that. So yeah, because she's bringing me a rabbit tomorrow. So I didn't know about that holiday. I thought it was Easter. So I was just like, wow, I better start, getting with those Easter baskets then. Okay. So it's going to be really important that you understand what stabilizer to use. Now, the reason why I'm telling you guys about this article is because this article is something that's really, really simple. I recommend that you guys print it out, keep it by your machine. And then as you are doing your embroidery and you got fabric and stuff, it's not the answer to everything, but it's a starting point. Okay, it's where you can at least get an idea of what some people recommend, right? So, if you have, burlap, then, here it says use cutaway, which I agree. Because burlap really doesn't have stretch to it, right? And then here it kind of tells you where you should use cutaway. Canvas, you should use cutaway. I think I would have used tearaway, but okay. Corduroy, cutaway, denim, cutaway, leather, cutaway, felt, cutaway, flannel, or flannel, cutaway, fleece, cutaway, or tearaway may be used for simple and light designs. Okay, so this is a good starting point for you guys, right? So that you can kind of know what stabilizer to use with what fabric and then what design too. Because one of the things that I like about this article is also tells you a little bit about the design. Okay. Here, let me add this back here so you guys can see. Let's go to the front, the top over here. And I don't know if it's big enough. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Let me see. Is this a little better? Let me look in here. I think I made it a little bit bigger and maybe it's a little bit better for you guys to see. All right. So as you see right here, can you see it? Yep, that looks a lot better. Okay, that looks a lot better. Let me see if I can make it just a little bit bigger for you guys. And let's see, or is it looking? Okay, that's good. All right. So as you can see right here, it has fabric, it has the stabilizer, the type of design, and the needle. And it also tells you whether you should be using a sharp needle, okay? Here also, you can sometimes see that it says universal needle, all right? You could use a universal needle. I always use a 7511 embroidery needle, but it's up to you. Use whatever you have. The other thing also that I do want to tell you is about the brand, right? There's lots of embroidery needles out there. Just use what works for you. I always like the organ needles. I've always used those, but you know what? I'm not really brand name specific sometimes. I go with what works. They have the the Smiths or Swartz. I don't know if I'm saying it right, or the Smiths needle. Let me take one out so that I can show you the package. But I'll take one out so that I can show you. Let me go back to the screen so that you guys can see what I'm talking about, because sometimes my pronunciation isn't that good. People at work laugh at me all the time because I always say things wrong. But this is another brand that's pretty popular. It works, and this is a 79, a 75, 11 needle. So I use these, and I also use my my organ needles as well. So either one works. Just make sure you're using the right size, and just that's really what's important. And also, if you use a sharp needle, make sure that you know what fabric you are working on when you're using those sharp needles, because the last thing you want to do is you don't want to mess up those fibers, right? Because then it can really as a long term, right away you're not going to notice it. It's going to look great, but then after a couple of washes and everything, you're going to see some issues and stuff, and then you're not going to be happy with how it looks and stuff like that. And the customer's not going to be happy either. So let me go back to the article so that you guys can actually see. So it tells you exactly these 4 columns, right? And I think that this is really, really helpful for those folks. So if you want, all you have to do is just Google this, Fibers 101 Stabilizer and Design Guide, okay? And that is a really great starting point for you guys to really start to learn about what fabric goes with what stabilizer, what design, and what needle. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, it can be very confusing. It really can. I'm telling you, it can get to the point where you can have a headache, and you could end up saying, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. It's just too much. But trust me, as time goes on, it gets easier. You're going to start understanding, and it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Everybody learns and stuff like that. So, okay. So, let's see. All right. I'm going to go down because I know you guys have some questions here, because I have seen some of the questions, and I do get tempted to just go ahead and jump in and answer them. But I'm going to go down, and I know I was supposed to answer a question for someone too, the towels, and I don't want to forget the towels and stuff. But I'm going to go down and say hi to you guys, and let's answer the questions, because look at that, I went over 9:30. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to get better this year. I just want to do the 1 hour of topic and then hang out with you guys the rest of the night, answer all the questions and stuff like that. But hey, it's all good, right? Okay, so let's go up, and we had a lot of comments today. Okay, so I'm going to say hi, and I'm going to answer any questions I see out there. I see Miss Wade, Deidre, how you doing? I see Robin Quilt, Baby Giant. Hey, Angela, Iris. Hey, Miss Max. Eartha, how are you? Miss Hills, how you doing? Hey, Miss McFake, how are you? Stephanie Allison, how are you? Tina. Hey, Beth, Pretty Eyes, how you doing? Let's see. Okay, here is one question. Jeanette, have you ever used a 14 by 14 mighty hoop? I haven't, but no, I haven't used it. And I will tell you this, I don't think I will. And I'm gonna and this is the reason why. I'm not a fan of doing huge, big embroidery designs, because when you do embroidery designs that are that big, you're talking about probably turning on that machine the whole freaking day. And I will not take an order like that, for the simple reason is, um I know people, people, some people are cheap. I'm going to tell you up front. A lot of people are cheap, and they always want something for nothing, right? So if I was to take on a project like that, it's going to be a pretty pricey project, because if I have to stitch something that's over 200,000 stitches, and I already know that that thing is going to occupy my machine for about good 8 hours and stuff like that, they're going to pay a pretty penny for it. And I know, people are not going to want to pay. So when I have people that approach me with those type of designs, I actually turn them down, because I got to be honest, I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. Could I do it? Yeah. Now, if I wanted to do something like that for me, then I'll do it because it's for me. Or if Fred was to ask me, hey, can you do this or whatever, I'll do it for him or for my son or whatever, right? But to do that for the business, I don't want to. I don't want to, because I just, no. But I have not, I have it, but I have not used it. I have not, the largest hoop that I've used was the 8x13 on my 10 needle machine. That's the largest, because the designs really don't get any bigger. Now I have rehooped, okay, because sometimes I'll do like some quilting. You could get these little quilt designs, and then I'll like quilt, and then I'll rehoop the item to quilt some more and stuff like that. I've done that, but to do the 14x14, I haven't used it. No. I mean, I think Miss Shirley has. I think if you ever watch Shirley's Threadworks, and I think she's on the chat stuff. I believe she has used that hoop. And that's like when you split the design. I think she has. Me personally, I just haven't used it. I just don't want to do the big designs. I really don't. I really don't. Call me lazy, but I don't want to do it. I just don't. Okay, so hey, Joanne, how are you? Hey, Pearl, how are you? Let's see. Hey, Jula Creations, how are you doing? Hey, Eartha. Oh my goodness, yes, my mom was talking about that, Angela. That northern Florida, got snow. Yep. So much for the sunshine state, right? Especially up north. They're not sunshine anymore. Hey, Deanna, how are you? Hey, Rita, how are you? How you doing? Hey, Miss Hemmings, how you doing? Okay, I'm going down. Let's see. Florina for the new people. Oh, Florina for new people. Yes. Oh, yes. This is, yes. Did I say it wrong, Tina? For the life of me, I can't say this brand. And I've had so many people reach out and try to teach me how to say it, but it's just not working. It just really isn't. Let's see. Hey, Leslie, how you doing? Hey, SK, how are you? Let's see. Everybody's all freaked out about the snow. Hey, embroidery school house. Oh, the embroidery homeschool mom. How you doing? Hey, Judy, how are you? Let's see. Going down. Everybody's talking about I guess everybody is shocked about that snow in Florida. I tell you. Well, my mom and my sister are in Miami. Nancy's in Miami. My mom is in Homestead. So they have not gotten any snow. However, though, my mom has been, every time I call her, she's always talking about how cold it is in Florida, right? So it's kind of funny because, we grew up in New York City and stuff. And then she went from New York City to Florida. And, she's just like, oh my God, it's cold, but yeah, um, weathers are changing. I will say I'm very happy though that in Virginia we did get snow this year. I love snow. I love it. I think it looks so pretty. I My favorite part is when it's coming down, because I love watching the snow come down, because I feel like it's so peaceful, and I like to sit on my front porch and just watch it. I just think it's a beautiful scene. Hey, crafty Puerto Rican, how you doing? Oh, let me get some water. And let's see. I'm looking down for, hey, Joyce Adams, how are you? Looking to see if anyone has questions. I don't think so. Hey, Beth, how are you? Oh, love the women's, especially the thin cursive. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That 60 weight thread, that thin cursive. um, Gotta love good embroidery lettering. Yes. That's important. I'm telling you, it's really, really important, especially logos. When companies come to you with their logos and they want you to embroider it, it's really important that when you embroider the logo, that is something that when they wear, they can read and they can see. I even have a video out there where I did have a customer where they wanted me to do the logo. The word in the logo was so thin. I mean, so small. And I kept telling the customer, I said, that is not going to look good. It's not going to look good. You really should do patches. He was so adamant. He was like, no, 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 I don't want patches. I want it to be this way. And I knew what I was talking about. So I just said, are you sure? And he was like, yeah. So what I did was I did it the way you wanted. And then I went and I did a patch, and I put the logo on the patch, and I made the patch big enough so that I could sew it on top of the embroidery. And when he came to pick it up, I showed it to him, and his face kind of dropped, because he was kind of like, he was like, oh. And I said, yeah. I said, that's what I was explaining to you. And I said, however, and then I took out the patches and I put it over it. And I said, now this is why I was trying to tell you that doing the patches would have been better. And what I was able to do was I took the patch and I sewed it over the embroidery. And then he was like so super happy with it. What I'll do is I will take that video and I'm going to post the link on the Facebook page, because I really want you guys to see that video. That's what I did for the tax accounting company. I really want you guys to see that video, because that is a perfect example of when you know your stuff, but the customer wants it a certain way. And I don't want something to walk out of here and look bad. So I want to make sure that the customer is happy. And sometimes I will say that when you're in this type of business, sometimes you do have to give a little, right? And what I mean by giving a little is sometimes you got to go that little extra mile. And I'm glad I did that, because it is a repeating customer. He is a repeating customer that I have. I do a lot of embroidery work for him. And if you really think about it, if I would not have took that extra step, okay, that means a lot to customers. All right. When you show them that you don't, you're not just taking their money and embroidering, you want them to really be happy with the final product. And because I did that, I have a feeling that I probably have a customer for life, because he always comes to me. And even moving forward now, whenever he has a project, and he always says, what do you think? And when I tell him, I know this is what you want, but you're going to have to add knockdown stitches, or, this is going to have to really be like a patch. I know you don't want it to look patchy, but let me work a couple of things out with a digitizer and see how close we can do it. Like maybe I can do a real thin patch, because sometimes people don't like patches because they don't want they don't like the edging, right? Sometimes people don't like the edging. I find that with some customers. And what ends up happening is, because they don't like the way the edge looks, they don't want that patch. So usually what I'll do is, I know I have to have that layout in the background, but I don't want it to be square, and I do want like some kind of shape because it'll look better. So what I do is I work with the digitizer, very similar to this. If you notice, look at the edges on here. Look at the edge right here. See how smooth it is? This is a patch, but looking at it from afar, you wouldn't think it was. It would, I mean, it looks so crisp and clean, the edges. So sometimes you do have to, work a little bit with the customer, and sometimes you do have to modify the design, because the material that they bring you sometimes is not suitable for their logo, for the design that they want. And you do have to make some little modifications, but which is why I like to have the conversations with the customers. If I see that there's a customer where they just want to drop off the stuff and not even, talk about their project, and then I'm just like, no, this isn't going to work out, for the simple fact that it's important to me that not only that I do good work, but that they're happy with the final outcome as well. And if they just want to just drop off, just drive by my house, drop off boxes and keep going, not even have the conversation with me, and then if something happens, then we have a problem, right? So to me, I'm like, and I tell people up front when they come to me, because they want me to do some embroidery work, I always make sure that I let them know this is how I work. Okay. I don't believe in a drop off. Okay. I like to get to know my customers. I like I understand what it is that you need. I like to look at what it is that you're trying to do with what materials and products that you want embroidered. I want to make sure that I have perfect understanding of the type of colors, the type of texture of the thread that you need. Do you want it shiny? Do you want it matted? Do you want metallic? I want you to understand that there's going to be certain areas of your logo that's going to use a 60 weight thread versus a 40 weight thread, and I have to change needles and stuff like that. I like them to understand the process. And I feel like when you do that, and then you tell them how much it is, they have an understanding as to why you're pricing a certain way. Okay. But like I said, I don't like to rob my customers. I never want my customers to feel like, I stole their wallet. That's not what I'm about. Okay. I'm about giving them a fair price. And I'm also about making sure that I get paid as well. So, when I explain the process and then I give them a price, they know up front, and I tell them I feel the best fair price for this job is this much. And then I go, do you want to proceed or not? And usually it's, do you want to proceed or not? It's not, do you want to negotiate price? Because the moment they start negotiating price, I just tell them, this isn't going to work out. I just don't do it. I don't negotiate price because I know. Okay, so anyway, I know I gave you a mouthful, Judy. I know I did. Let's see. Oh, somebody's talking about baby. Let's see. Jeanette, you get to do some very nice logos. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Hey Marino, how are you? I think I always say your name wrong. I know I have to. I always jack up your name. Your name. I always do. It's Bernardino. I think it's Bernardino, something like that. Let's see. Your videos is so smoothing and informational. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad you like it. Let's see. Hey, Linda, how are you? How you doing? I thought that was applique. Oh, no, these are not applique. I do some applique, but no, all of the logos that I have done for the for the companies, they have all been straight out stitching. Yeah. And let's see, Boricua on the cheese because you're saying 40 weight. Okay, I think, yeah, Leslie, I think I got you covered on that question. I have PE design and in brilliance and simply applique. Okay, I guess those are the software that you've been using. Yep, I got you. Okay, cool. Did you know that you can make applique with in brilliant stitch art? Yes, yeah, you can. Hey Angela, 40 weight would probably be good to use when embroidering towels. What do you think? It depends, Angela, on the design. It depends, and it also depends on the fabric of the towel. Okay. I mean, I use 40 weight. I'm sorry. 40 weight. Yes. 40 weight is what I use or when I embroider my towels. I was over here thinking 60 weight. I will use 60 weight on towels if the design calls for it. Okay, if there is a specific area in that design that needs that 60 weight thread, then I would put it in. But I do use 40 weight. Okay. YouTube, yes. Case in point, we are watching an expert getting amazing advice information. Thank you. I think our Brilliance has demonstrations. Yes, Margie. In Brilliance it does have a free download. I think though that it does have limitations. Okay. I'm not sure if it does it for each module though. I know they may have changed. I'm not sure, but I know back in the day, they used to have essentials and there was like a free version of it, but there were limitations to it. Like you couldn't save the design or something like that. I think the whole purpose of that free download was just so that you could play with it enough to see if that's something that you wanted to move forward on the purchase. Some embroidery softwares do that. Sometimes they do offer a free version. If they do, I recommend that you guys try them out and see how it feels. Do you feel comfortable with it? Do you like the look and the feel? Do you understand it? And then also look on YouTube and see if there's other people out there that teach you how to use it and stuff, you know? Yeah. I would love to learn to digitize freestanding lace. I would love to learn how to digitize, but I'm gonna be honest, I tried to do it and I found it kind of hard. I really did. But let's be fair. I really didn't have the time available for me to really invest in learning it. I think like I said, when I retire, then and by the way, talk about retirement. Very happy. My husband actually retired today. So 40 years of service and he is done. So very, very happy for him and stuff. We got to go to his job and have lunch with some of his coworkers and stuff. And it was really, really nice and really happy for him. So he is now in his phase of life where he gets to just go to sleep, wake up when his eyes just pop open and just enjoy the day. And the only thing he has to worry about is making his doctor's appointment. That's about it. So, very, very happy for him and stuff. It was really exciting to see. So now I'm the only one working. And I could really say we're on a fixed income. Hey, Beth. Oh, yes, guys, please. And listen, also, if you are new to my channel and you're watching this and you really like what you see, please consider subscribing. I was looking at my statistics and I saw that 49% of the folks that watch my channel do not to subscribe to it. So it doesn't cost anything. All you have to do is just hit that subscribe button, and it doesn't even cost anything to give me that thumbs up either. Okay. But it does help me out. It does help the channel to get, more, the videos to be seen more. Because what happens is as as videos get thumbs up, YouTube looks at that, and then they will recommend the videos to other people that are looking to learn more about embroidery and all that good stuff. So please, that would really be a great help if you guys subscribe, and even give me that thumbs up. Okay. I would appreciate that. I would make a I probably would, because I pay a lot of attention to detail. Detail, I agree, Leslie. Detail is really, really big on me. It's important to me. So, but I think I would probably might be a very slow digitizer, because I would probably want to make sure that the details of those designs were solid. So, and honestly, I kind of like to share the wealth. One of the things I saw, something about, it was like a video about money, and one of the things that they talked about was, time. They said, once you reach a certain, money's important, because you want to be comfortable inside. But some things that you use money for, you use it to buy stuff, right? But sometimes people go a little crazy and buy too much stuff. You use it so you can buy memories, so that you can do things with your family and your friends. And you also use money so that you could buy, time. And one of the things that I liked about the time was, I thought about, they said sometimes what happens is you use money so that you can pay someone else to do something for you. And, even though some people could come out and say, well, you're wasting money because you could do that yourself. But what I really liked, what was this gentleman explained, was when you use money to buy time, you are buying time that you can use for yourself, to spend, quality time for yourself, and quality time for family and friends. And when you are hiring someone else to do something, you're actually helping them as well, because, they need the money, and you're helping someone else life a little better. So honestly, because of that concept, even if I probably learn how to digitize, I probably will continue to support my digitizers, because this is what they love doing. And I would like to, I want to spend my time on the machines, and they can spend their time digitizing, and I have no problem providing them that support. So, I know some digitizing. I know enough where I can make little tweaks to designs when I need to, like to remove a jump stitch, or just to resize it, or something like that, or to change colors, or even remove a certain portion of a design. I know enough where I can do something like that, little simple changes. But when I need something that's a little more detailed, a lot of times I just like to support my digitizers and stuff. So yeah. But I just believe she has a nitty-gritty understanding of machine embroidery. Well, I will tell you, I love machine embroidery. I really do. I really do. I love what I do. This is really my world. It really is. um oh, good. Oh, they have a coupon for 10% off. Awesome. Um I remember that design. Yes, it did. For those of you guys that don't know what Iris is talking about, the design that gave me nightmares. I'm going to tell you something though. Usually, usually when you are doing embroidery, sometimes what you want is you just want to get the job done, right? You just want to hurry up and do what you got to do. Man, I can't even find the design now. Where did I put it? and you just want to get stuff done, right? But there are going to be moments where you're going to come across a design, which this one was it. And this is not the finished version. As a matter of fact, I have the finished version over there. Let me go get it so that you guys can see. Okay, you guys can see. If you guys if you're new, you probably won't know what Iris is talking about, but I'm going to show you. Okay. This is a customer that she is also an artist, and she has champion dogs, and she likes to design her own logos and all that kind of stuff. This is something, and this is to show you how many times I had to stitch out this design. Okay. I mean, one, well, and this is one, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This was test stitched 9 times. This is the final product. This is how it looks. Gorgeous. I am telling you, just look at the front of the dog. There you go. See how this is what I mean when I tell you guys that it's not easy. You know, it takes experience. It takes time. For someone who is new to embroidery, you'll probably look at some of this and you know, you'd be like, oh, it looks fine. No, it did not look fine. Okay. There were touches that needed to be made. Okay. A lot of problems with it. I actually had to find a digitizer that actually specialized in portraits in order to get this final product. Okay. And every time I test stitched this design, it took about 45 minutes to stitch. Okay. So that's dedication. And that to me is I don't fail. There are so many details to this that normally people would not look at. But as her as an artist and me as a digitizer that I don't mess around, I knew what details were important. Let's look at this dog right here. I want you guys to pay attention to this right here. There is a little space between the beard and the mouth. See that space right there? That is very, very important. I know that you guys probably look at it and go, it's just a space. But it was very important to the artist, okay? And it's the mustache of the dog. So it had to show, okay? Also, the snout of the dog had to be formed perfectly. If you look at the other ones, okay? See how that space, the mustache of the space is not there? See how the snout is? Look at that. Look at the difference. Do you see that? See? Okay. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So I just want you guys to know, because Iris remembers, it took me 3 months of working with not just one digitizer. I actually worked with 3 digitizers. Okay. And it was a headache. And I was able I posted this on our Facebook page, and I said, you know what, I'm at my wit's end. But I wasn't going to give up. I mean, it's just I needed that break. And then someone saw it. They reached out to me and they told me I specialize in portrait digitizing. Can I give it a shot? And I said, go ahead. And he didn't get it the first time. Okay, I had to 2 revisions with him, but he was able to finally get that finished product. Okay. And this was something that was like, wow. Okay. So, yeah. And I have this saved, and that customer, let me tell you, is a repeat customer of mine. And I have done so many products for this customer with her logo, with this logo. So let me tell you, it was worth that extra effort of 3 months of pulling my hair out to get this perfect, because this has been embroidered on chairs, it has been embroidered on jackets, it's been embroidered on sweatshirts, hoodies, polo shirts. It has been, it's been one of the favorite logos for her company. And she's always reaching out saying, I need 10 more shirts, 15 more shirts, 20 shirts, and whatever. And it's been doing really, really well. And gorgeous job, gorgeous job. But yes, Iris, this was something that, and this is what I mean by determination. Okay, guys, this is what I mean by determination. And that's why I tell you guys, if you are serious about doing embroidery as a business, you have to know that you're going to have challenges. This was a big challenge for me. Okay. And I get them. I get the challenges all the time. Oh, I actually put a pouch in here by mistake. Shouldn't be in here. These, it happens. And I even have her threads in a separate bag. Okay. Because her design is particular color. So this is hers. And I have her, the thread numbers and everything. So, I always keep everything organized and stuff. So whenever she comes with her stuff, I pull out this bag, and I know, and this is all Florina thread, okay, because she wants it shiny and it looks beautiful shiny. So this is these are her thread colors and stuff like that. And then I always keep track of my inventory and make sure that I have enough of those thread colors so that when she comes with her items, I can just pop them out and stuff like that. But yes, Iris, that this was definitely a challenge, and it was something that was like, wow, yeah, it was. But I got it done. I got it done. Everybody was happy. What thread do you usually use? Hey, Brenda, I usually use really all types of different types of threads. Honestly, I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but my favorite, let me tell you what my favorites usually are to work with. I usually do love working with Madeira. And there's a reason for it. The reason why I like Madeira is because they seem to me be the most stable with the colors. Okay. And what I mean about that is that when you buy the thread and the color number, I can usually find that thread in a 60 weight as well. Okay, not just 40. I can also find it in a 60. If I use the other brands, the other brands 60 weight. No, where you going, Mel? They want to say hi to you. Come on. They asked about you. You want to say hi? You want to say hi? Okay, they asked about you, boo boo. There's Mello. There's Mello. He's always around, right, boo boo? You're always around. Okay, come hang out with Mama. Don't leave me, Papa. Stay with Mama. Okay, here you go. All right, so I kind of like the Madeira because of they're consistent. Okay. The problem that I've had with other threads from other companies, Brenda, is that sometimes, like, I'll give you an example, sim thread. And matter of fact, I'll even show you. Okay. Okay. Sometimes what happens is when you start to run out of the color, right? You want to reorder it. And because you like the color, you want to keep using it, right? So this is like sim thread, right? And look, they're both number 19. And then look at the color. It's different. Now, I don't know if this was a mistake. I don't know if it was a mistake or they just decided to change the color dye. I don't know. But all I know is that it says 19, this says 19, and this is nowhere near the same color. So if I was using this thread in the middle of a design and then I ran out and then I went and I got this 19, I would have been screwed. Okay, so I have a problem with that. So because I saw that right there, I was like, okay, this is not I'll use these for small projects, okay? But as for commitment, right, for customers and stuff like that, I kind of like to stick with the Madeira because I feel like their threads are more true to their colors, okay? The other thread that I find is very true as well, but the only thing is I never find them in 60 weight thread. I only find them in 40 weight thread is the one that I like, which is the Florina. And it's this one right here. Okay. The only time I can find this is all 40 weight. I have not been able to find these in the 60 weight. So when it comes to logos where I have to have a red and it has to be the same red and it has to be a 40 and a 60, then I will just choose the Madeira thread because I know that I can get the red in both weights, but here it's just 40. Unless the customer's okay with this being shiny and then the 60 weight being just close enough, then I'll use the Madeira because the Madeira is the only one that I can actually find really in the 60 weight. Now I do know there's other brands out there, but I haven't really had the time to go search them out and stuff like that. So I just kind of stick with what is easy for me, which is really the Madeira thread and stuff. So the two favorites for me is the Madeira and the Florina. Now, I know there's candle thread. Candle thread is a little bit more on the economical side. I haven't really I purchased from them. I find that their threads are more matted. Um, I'll use candle thread more for stuff for me, or if the color that is the color that the customer wants, then I'll go and I'll use the candle thread. You know, I have not had this experience, but this is stuff that I've heard talking with other embroiderers and stuff like that. When we sometimes like to share information and stuff. A lot of the embroiderers that I have met, that also run embroidery businesses and stuff, they really do stick to the Madeira brand. They actually like Madeira and they like the Florina as well. Now, there are some other brands that are out there that are more on the expensive side, but the thing is, I have to keep my costs down because if I end up using very expensive thread, of course, I'm going to have to charge more for the embroidery. And the way I like to run the business is I like it to be fair, right? Especially for those folks that come to me that only have like one item that want to get embroidered. I don't want to come out and say, well, $60, and especially, like the lady that's coming tomorrow. She just wants the ear on her bunny to be embroidered, and that's like $20, because I have to hoop it, and I have to use sticky stabilizer, and I have to use the water soluble stabilizer on top of that and stuff like that. And I'm probably gonna have to run it slow through the machine. So to me, I was like $20 is a fair price. So I don't want to get my threads, where it's like, I don't want to buy diamonds, you know what I'm saying? Because then what happens is, you got to pass those costs to the customer, or else you're working for free. So I know I said a mouthful. I know you just asked one simple question, but I wanted to tell you what I use, why I use it, and why, how I think about it and stuff like that. Another thing that I have, just to throw this as well, when I talk with other embroiderers, they have talked about sometimes when they use brands that they have tried brands that are pretty on the cheap side, right? Very economical. They have experienced some problems with what's called color bleeding. Now, color bleeding is like, let's say you have a red and let's say a white, right? and you embroider a design with both these colors, they have said that customers have washed the items and then the color of the red kind of bleeds and then it ruins the embroidery design. They did not share with me the type of thread it was. They mentioned a name, but it was something I never heard of before. But they said it was something that was like really like super cheap thread. And they were like, oh, let me give that a shot because they were trying to cut expenses. And they said it was the biggest regret that they ever had because they did a whole bunch of shirts and the dark color just bled onto the white thread of the embroidery design once the customer washed it. So what they had to do was they had to replace all those shirts. They had to redo all the shirts and give it to the customer. So, the lady told me she was really upset because that was like a free job. And she was like, of course I'm going to replace the shirts and redo the embroidery because that's not the fault of the customer, right? But she says she kind of learned the hard way. So she says now sometimes what she'll do is if she sees really cheap thread out there, she kind of shies away from it. She prefers not to, but she told me one of the things to do, she said, Jeanette, I recommend that what you do is just buy 2 spools, buy one that's real dark and white, do a design on it, wash the item like 10 times and see if it bleeds before you start using that product to embroider for your customers, because the last thing you want is to have them come back with that, because she said it was a very, very expensive lesson. I mean, I think it was like 100 shirts, something like that she did for this customer, and they all bled. And she was hot. She was really, really hot. And she said she just had to replace the shirts and redo it. And yeah, so just something that I just wanted to share with you guys, because that's helpful when you learn from other people and some of the experiences that they go through. Let's see. All right. Oh, Miss Joseph. Okay. Or Mr. Joseph. Mr. Joseph. Okay. You're can you use cutaway for hand towel? All right. Let's talk about this a little bit. Now, I usually do kitchen towels, right? Now, the kitchen towels that I do, usually they're for decor. Okay. They're not really for use, even though some people do use them, but they're really more for the decor. And the designs that I put on those kitchen towels can be a little bit on the dense side. However, I use cutaway not cutaway, cut away. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, tear away. I got tongue tied there for a moment. It's tear away. Trust me, it's tear away. I tear it off. And then what I do is in the back of the embroidery, I use either cloud cover or tender touch. And all that is just it's like no show mesh, and it has adhesive on it, and it's just to cover all the ugly stitches behind the design, right? You got your embroidery, and I just want it to look clean in the back, so I just put like tender touch or something like that, and I just iron it on there so that way they don't see all this rough stuff behind it. But a lot of the kitchen towels that I do is really mostly for looks, right? It's just they're personalized towels just so that people could hang them in their kitchen to show off and stuff like that. Now, can you use them? Yeah, you can. However, though, when they wash it, the design is going to be all like, how I was talking to you guys about, like crumbled up, right? So what I usually do in those situations is, because I know that I use a tearaway, I usually give them care instructions, and I let the customer know this is how you should be caring for this product. All right. And I let them know that if you wash it, don't put it in real hot dryer, put it in something that's low cool, and iron it, and stuff. So can you use cutaway on a hand towel? You can. There's nothing wrong with that. It'll provide more stability. I would actually recommend that you do that if you find that it's going to be a towel that people actually use a lot and they're going to wash it a lot, I would definitely recommend that. Like bath towels and stuff. When I embroider bath towels and I put people's initials on it and stuff like that, a lot of times those towels, they're not going to use them. They're just hanging them so that it's decor. So they could just show it off. That's all it is. And if they wash it, it's probably going to be one or two. But if you're part of my family, okay, where, if when I gifted my mom her towels for her home, if you touched those towels, you were dead. Okay, those were to look at. It wasn't to use. You could not even dry your hands on them if you wanted to, because if not, I mean, she would have got you. All right, I mean, she would have had a fit. All right, so it just depends, right? But if it's decorative towels, chances are people really are not going to use those. And if they're not going to use them, use the cutaway, unless you see that the design is so dense that you feel that you're going to get puckering or something on the fabric. Then what I would do is I would recommend using the cutaway. And then this is another thing too. Use the cutaway then, especially if it's a decor, and it's like a thick towel, like a bath towel or something like that. Think about it. They're going to hang the towel. Nobody's going to see the back of it. The only thing that I don't like about the cutaway is that it's cutaway. So sometimes what happens is you no, this is tearaway. It's like you cut it, but it to me it sometimes looks a little ugly, because you have all that extra, you have this hanging out, so it's sometimes I think it looks a little ugly. But to relieve that, to get rid of that, what I would do is put cloud cover or tender touch right on top of it and iron it, and it'll look flat. I would do that. Now, the other thing also to consider though is cutaway is usually more expensive than tearaway stabilizer. So think about the cost, okay? But to help save costs on cutaway, one of the things that I do is buy the roll, okay? You can buy the roll. That way, this is cheaper. Trust me, this is cheaper. Because sometimes when you buy your stabilizer, when you buy them pre-cut, you're actually paying extra because someone cut that stabilizer for you. Now, I do buy pre-cut also because sometimes I really don't have the time to sit down and pre-cut my stabilizer, okay? And so I kind of look at it as to save like $2 or $3, or no, here's $2 or $3, and I need to open the package and just hoop my stuff, okay? So that's something. Oh, and you know what? I talked about hooping. When I got into the fabric thing, confusion. Another thing about confusion that a lot of people don't know about is the hooping, okay? There's a lot of different ways to hoop items. You can hoop, and there's a lot of different types of hoops. I'm going to tell you something right now. If you don't hoop the item correctly, I don't care what anybody tells you about the needle, the thread, the stabilizer, it ain't going to come out right. So you better learn how to master how to hoop items, okay? There's lots of hoops out there for the different machines. So you got to make sure that you know exactly how to hoop your items, all right? And maybe what I'll do is, I know I have videos on the channel already about hooping. I'll take a look and see if I have them there. Then fine, I'll just do a search on hooping and stuff. Maybe I'll change the title a little bit so that way it's a little easier for you guys to find. But if not, then I'm definitely going to have to videotape it. So I know tomorrow I'm going to videotape me doing the bunny ear. And I'm going to talk to you guys about, the fluff and all that kind of stuff and everything. And then I got it down on my book about hooping as well. And if I know I talk a little bit on the channel about when to float items and all that good stuff. You're going to have to learn that. You got to master that. That can be a little confusing as well too, but that's something that you really, really have to take the time to learn, because that hooping is really kind of like some of the heart of it. If you don't know how to hoop the item, it's not going to come out right. You can end up with puckering. You can end up with hoop burn. Something's called hoop burn. Hoop burn is when you actually hoop the shirt with the stabilizer. When you unhoop it, you end up with the square, and then your fabric is marked. Very hard to get that off. Sometimes you can't get it off depending on what it is that you're doing, especially if you're working on something like velvet and stuff like that. Well, certain materials you should hoop, certain materials you should float. Okay. And velvet is one of them. Velvet is something that you should float, because if you hoop it, you're going to get hoop burned. And it can be very tricky because velvet is very slippery also. So you want to make sure that you are, using you're using either sticky stabilizer, or if you're using cutaway stabilizer, make sure you're using temporary adhesive, so that you can make sure or pin it, so that you can make sure that fabric doesn't shift. Okay. So hooping is really, really important. If you really don't master hooping, you can forget about it. It's not going to come out right. Your stuff is going to come out crooked. It's not going to come on the right spot. The embroidery design is not going to come out good either, because you can end up with puckering and all that stuff. There's just so many things. So, something that, something to, digest. Hey Jennifer, how you doing? So I hope Joseph that helped. Hey Frank, how are you? Okay, here's another question. Okay. Is 60 weight thread called embroidery bobbin thread? Embroidery bobbin thread is usually 60 weight. It usually is. It can be 90 weight thread too. Okay. But usually when it comes to embroidery, the ones that I use is usually 60 weight. Okay. But there is something called embroidery thread. This is bobbin thread. And it is 60 weight, but this is bobbin. Yeah, this is bobbin. Bobbin, yeah, usually bobbin thread is 60 weight. Jean, it is. But they do have 90 weight as well. And I think the 90 weight bobbin thread is usually used just for sewing, not for embroidery. Okay, so it's like for quilting and stuff like that, bobbin thread is usually separate, and you can get pre-wound. Yes, the thread is very thin and lightweight. Yes. And I get the pre-wind too. Now, but if you have extra time and stuff, you can always, embroider wind your own thread too and stuff. Hey Becky, how you doing? Let's see. For material like that, it's best to use knockdown stitches. Yes, whenever you have the materials that is fluffy, knockdown stitches is really the way to go. It really is. You have no idea how many times people come to me with blankets or stuff, and and they had someone else do the embroidery for them, but the material was fluffy, and you could tell that they've used it for quite some time, and the fluffiness of the material is already like towering over the embroidery design. And I don't say anything to them, but I do ask them if they want the second item to have the knockdown stitches to prevent that. But what goes through my mind is, and then I shouldn't think like that, because it could be that maybe the embroiderer offered the knockdown stitches, and maybe the customer just didn't want it. That can happen. But that's what goes through my mind is, God, I wonder if, because it would look nicer if they had the knockdown stitches and then they stitched on top of that. But sometimes you don't know the situation. You don't know if maybe the embroiderer didn't know, or maybe the customer wanted it that way. I don't know. But I have seen um customers bring stuff to me and say, hey, I want you to embroider something like this, and when I look at the embroidery and I'm kind of like, oh, they should have used knockdown stitches, or they should have used a thicker font. Okay, because that's another thing. If you sometimes you can get away with not using knockdown stitches if the font that you use is thick. Okay, if it's a thin font, it's just gonna die in right in there, and stuff. So yeah. Hey Jenny, how are you? Hey Margie, how you doing? Oh, the year of the rabbit, Chinese. Okay, then maybe that's what it is then. Okay. Yeah, yeah, but love the year of the rabbit. Okay. Is this the year of the rabbit? I guess I don't know. I don't. You know what went through my mind was, it's Easter already. People want their Easter bunnies, because that's what it looked like. It looked like an Easter bunny, but I don't know. We'll see. All right. Um. Hey Debbie. Um. Maria, how you doing? Oh, thank you for the friend. You are very welcome. You are very welcome. Hey, Scarce Year of the Snake. I think, oh, I know what you guys are talking about. Okay, I remember when I used to take Carlito to the restaurant. They used to have the mat, and it used to talk about what year you were born. There was like an animal. I think I think it was a monkey. I think I'm a monkey, something like that. um, I have a few of those needles. I also have single needles and the organ needles. Jeanette, when you embroider your samples on twill or doing a patch on twill, do you use the sharp or the ballpoint? I actually use the ballpoint. The only time, Beth, that I see myself pulling out the sharp needles is when I'm embroidering on baseball hats. Actually. Yeah. Now, you could use sharp needles on twill if you wanted to. But because I only have like one box of sharp needles, I don't have too many of them. I kind of like to preserve them, and I like to use them just for the baseball hats. Everything else, I kind of use the ballpoint, because I just feel it's safer that way. But ballpoint works fine on twill, but you can use the sharp, okay, on the sharp on twill. Hey Gail, how are you? Where do you get your 40 weight thread? I like to get my Madeira thread from allstitch.com. That's where I like to get it from. And there's a reason why, because I think you have to spend like $175 for free shipping. So usually when I have to redo my threads and stuff like that, I like to kind of really replenish them with Madeira. I really do like that brand. And I get them from All Stitch. And when I'm purchasing my thread, because I really do want to get that free shipping, I usually wait till I have a big purchase. So what I do is I don't just buy the thread from them. I also replace my needles from them as well. So I'll usually buy like 5 boxes of needles, and then I'll buy my threads. And when I buy my threads, but like I said, the big combs are usually the colors that I use a lot. So if like the browns, I always use browns. So usually when I'm buying my thread from All Stitch, I'll usually buy like six of the big combs. Okay, because I have 3 multi-needle machines. So if I have an order where I have to have all 3 machines running, I like each machine to have their own comb. I think Miss Banks, she reached out to me and she was like, hey, you can wind your own, buy one and then just wind it in separate empty combs. That way you can run them on 3 machines. I don't want to bother doing all that. It's too much of a hassle. Just to save $8, you know. I mean, I'm gonna use them. I'm gonna use the thread, you know, because it's the color that I use all the time, and I need to have all three running. So I don't want to just rewind just so that I could have a one-time use. I really need to keep it going. So, but I usually go to All Stitch because I feel like that's where I get the best bang for my buck, because I don't just buy the thread, I buy my needles from them too. That's where I go. Can you imagine the cost of some of that big? It's, yeah, it's, if you're doing like a 14 by 14, you're probably going to be doing a split design, and you're probably talking a long. That's why to me, I'm like, I wouldn't even bother. I wouldn't. On the live. Oh, they're doing the commercials on the lives. Yeah. Yeah. I hope you guys stick around though. Last week you showed us your stash of kitchen towels and labels. Do you have a tutorial on making those labels, showing the process and placement? Do you remove the original? No, I don't. Okay, Mary. Okay. First of all, I don't make my own labels. I actually buy them. Okay, because I find them that, you know, there's certain things that you know, that is better to do yourself, but there's, you know, sometimes you got to learn what you should do yourself and what you got to outsource, right? So the labels I outsource. Okay, I buy those. And then as for what I usually do is I sew my labels on top of the labels that are already on the kitchen towel. I do not remove the original labels. The reason why I don't want to remove them is because sometimes those original labels, what they do is, if you look behind them, sometimes they have washing instructions on those towels. And my label is really just to tell the folks what Etsy shop this item was purchased from, because you don't want, like, you know, you sell something and then it's hanging in someone's house and they go, oh my God, it's a beautiful towel. Where did you get that from? The guys, you know what they're going to say? They'll say, oh, I got it from Etsy. Well, Etsy has over hundreds and thousands of little Etsy shops within Etsy, right? So I want them to know which of those thousands of Etsy shops did that towel actually come from. So that's why I have my label on there, so that if people ask, where did you get that from? They can look at the label and they'll know exactly the name of my shop. But I do not remove the labels from any of the original items. I usually just take my Etsy label and I just sew it on top of it. That's what I do. Okay, I just put it right on top. That's it. Let's see. Hey, Ozzy, how are you doing? Hey, Liliana, how are you? Let's see. What's the name of the list again? Fabric 101. Right. This is the name of it, Mary. If you Google this, Fabric 101 Stabilizer and Design Guide, okay, it will pop up. And I really recommend just print it out, keep it by your machine. It's not going to be the answer to all to everything, right? But it's a starting point, and it gives you an idea of what you should be thinking about when you're working on a particular type of fabric. You know, it's just something that I always found very helpful, especially when I come across a piece of fabric where I'm really not familiar with. So I'll just be like, let me look it up. And this is the other thing too, guys. Google is a wonderful thing. Okay. So if you have a question, just Google the question and you'd be surprised how you can get the answer to it. Okay. Floriani. Oh, Floriani. Okay, Floriani. I was saying Florina. Was I saying Florina? I think I was. Floriani. You know, Rita, I'm not gonna remember. Okay, let's be honest. Floriana. But that's why I always like to take it and go, This is it. This is it, guys. This is the shiny thread that I like. Okay, is there any way to avoid those tiny stitches? Well, sometimes digitizers can put stops in there. The problem is that if they do put the stops in there, um, it's going to take longer for you to stitch it out. But there are things out there, Miss Max, that you can get to help you with those stitches, with those jump stitches, the little tiny ones. There's two things you can do. Hold on. Let me pull this out. I think I have it here. And then let me give you a little trick too that I use, okay? Sometimes if I have a design and it has those little tiny jump stitches on there, I know that sometimes it can get really tricky for you to cut them. And you get scared. You're like, I don't want to cut the fabric, right? So what you do is on that design, use the water-soluble stabilizer. The water-soluble stabilizer is going to be in the middle of the fabric and the stitches. So it's going to make it easier for you to get in and cut those little tiny jump stitches. The other thing that I use, I hope I can find it. I think I have it somewhere here. Or did I? Hold on. It's a little, I have a very little scissor. And I have, okay, that's great. Now I can't find it. Okay. I know I have it. It's just, when you want to find something right away. And I'm usually very, very neat. But it's just that I have to reorganize again. Or maybe I reorganized it in such a good way that now I can't find it. But I have certain scissors that are my specialty when it comes to those really small. There it is. I got it. Yeah, I always have everything right. Okay. Here are 3 scissors that I usually use, okay, for those really tiny jump stitches. The water-soluble stabilizer is a really good idea because it kind of it creates a layer between the fabric and those tiny stitches. So when you go to cut those tiny stitches, it kind of helps you to get in there without cutting the fabric. What you want to do is you want to get embroidery scissors that are like really good at getting into that area because sometimes it can be really, really tiny. This is a pair of embroidery stitches that I have, and it's from Karen Berkeley. They're pretty pricey, but as you can see by this point, it is really, really thin. And that helps to really get under there, okay, to get underneath that stitch. This is something that was gifted to me by Miss Banks, and this is called like a, I think it's a stitch hopper, something like that. And this also makes it very easy for you to get in there and just snip that as well, okay? There's another one that I use, and this actually has this little hook right here. See? That little hook, you can just dig it in and then snip it. And it can cut that little jump stitch right there. Okay. They, I know they can be a pain. You can talk to the digitizers and see if they can put stops between every letter. But the only problem with that is it's going to take longer to embroider. And, I don't know. I mean, to me, as long as I can cut them, I'm good. And using these 4 items, and if it's really that bad, I'll use the water soluble stabilizer, and that really helps. So that way I can cut them pretty quick, and it helps and stuff. So I hope that helps you. See, Laura, I have a customer want to put a name on a bar towel, want curses. So my digitizer did it. It was beautiful, but the customer did not know how to read the cursor. sad, but it was really nice. Okay, this is something, didn't know how to read the cursor. Okay, well, all right. This is something, Lori, I hope that the customer was happy with the product. Usually what I like to do when someone's asking for me to put like a name or something like that, I have lots of fonts. And basically the question I ask is, do you want block or do you want cursive? Do you want it like super fancy? You want it funky? I try to get an idea. Then what I'll do is I'll take whatever name they want and I will display it in the different fonts. And then I take a screenshot and I text it to them. And I tell them, which one do you like? You know, you like the top, bottom, the third, whatever, right? That kind of avoids that, because what happens is the customer knows up front, Lori, what they're going to get. All right. So it's like, you know, there are certain fonts that are beautiful out there, but sometimes not every word looks great in that font. And sometimes you just have to use another font because the letter J looks kind of funky. The I doesn't look like an I. It looks like something else. The W don't look right, or the M, or whatever, right? So I always like to give a sample to the customer. But what I mean by sample is I don't just go and I don't take this and I say, hey, let me embroider it. Here's a sample. And that's not what I mean. What I mean is go to the embroidery software, you know, create it, take a screenshot of it, text it to the customer and say, this is what it's going to look like. Are you okay with this font? Do you need it more bigger, smaller, whatever? The other step that I also take is once they agree, like the lady that I'm going to do the bunny for tomorrow, you know, she already agreed with the font. I'm actually going to print it out. And when I print it out and she comes with the bunny, I'm actually going to cut out the name and I'm going to place it on the ear so she could see how that font is going to look on the ear of the bunny. Okay. That way they know what it's going to look like. And that way you don't have that issue and stuff, because, you know, trust me, I know. That happened to me once with a monogram. Okay. You know how they have those 3 letters and they form it like a circle. And then sometimes what they'll do is they'll slant the first letter a certain way. Then you got your middle letter and then the other letter gets slanted because it forms a circle. Well, the lady was like, well, is that really a W? And I'm like, yeah, that's how the W looks. You know, that's how because it's slanted like a circle. But that to me was the lesson that I said, you know what, before anything, if they say this is the monogram I want it to look like a circle, I'm going to say, well, what's the 3 letters that you want? And I'm going to do the 3 letters. I'm going to say, this is what it's going to look like. Are you okay with that? Because if you're not okay with that, then maybe the circle's not for you. Maybe we need to look at block letters, okay? Or maybe, you know, some other thing, okay? Or script or whatever, okay? So always send a snapshot to the customer so that way they can see exactly what it's going to look like. That way there's no, you know, because you don't want to feel some kind of way. You don't want them to feel some kind of way. You know what I mean? You want them to be happy when they have their product and stuff. Hey, Deborah. New to embroidery, what type of material do you use for patches and type of stabilizer? For patches, I use twill. Okay, twill is usually very popular. When you use twill is actually your patch. So I don't do stabilizer with twill. I just hoop the twill and just embroider the patch on top of that. That's what I do. Okay. And welcome, Deborah. Welcome. And so now there is another thing too. There's also sometimes, depending on the patch, you can use plastic if you don't want to use twill, but it depends on the patch. It has to be a patch that is pretty dense, can stand on its own. Okay. And what I mean by plastic is I use this. Okay, you can get this from Home Depot or Lowe's and stuff like that. Okay, this is plastic sheeting. Okay, and I do have a video on the channel on me embroidering patches on this. But the thing is, like I said, this is plastic. There's no it's just clear. So if you're going to do the patches on this, you have to make sure that it is a patch that is solid. Okay, there's no holes in the design. Okay, it has to be something similar to like this. Okay, like this could be done on the plastic. Okay, as a matter of fact, this was done on the plastic. Okay, so it's a solid. There's no spacing or anything like that, because if there is spacing, remember you're doing it on plastic, so you're gonna see you're gonna see right through it. Okay, but usually, people usually use the plastic because they want to save money, because twill could be very expensive, right? But usually the patches are done on the twill. That's really the standard. Okay, but if you have a design that's really dense or whatever, you could get away with doing it on the plastic. And then what you do is you just put the adhesive in the back, and then you just glue it and then sew it wherever you're going to put it. Okay, let's see. Commercial. They're showing all over the place, huh? Okay, but I tell you what, I get my money by those commercials. Just skip them. Just skip them when they show up. Oh, have you seen the post about what's going on with Creative Fabrica? Please beware. I did not. I'm gonna have to look that. Please post that on our Facebook, because I did not know anything about Creative Fabrica. What's going on that? Okay, I'm gonna have to find out. I'm gonna have to find out. Oh, thanks. Yes. Retired. I got 1 year and 7 months to go. Then it'll be my turn. Then I'll be retired too. And then you guys will really see a lot of videos too, because I'll have nothing to do with my time but just embroider, do videos, hang out with you guys all the time. Because right now, it's just really Friday and on the weekends. And the weekends I have to really catch up with housework and all that kind of stuff. And I got to do my customer orders too, because I'm still working full time. So because I'm working full time, sometimes I do have to turn away customers when they come to me and they say, "Hey, I have a bulk order." Now, a lot of my customers, they're repeat customers, and they know that I'm working full time. So they know that I only do this like on the weekends. So what's really good is, because they know my schedule, they'll come to me with their bulk orders, and they'll say, "Hey, I have a bulk order, but I don't need it till another 3 or 4 months." And then I'm like, that's fine. And then I can go, like I told you guys, I have an appointment book, and I'll go through the appointment book, and then I'll say, okay, I can do it this weekend. I'll work on your order this weekend. Can you have the items to me like 2 weeks or 1 week in advance? That way I can get it done. And they're like, cool. And it works out. It works out really, really good. So yeah, I actually work like, you think about it, I'm working 7 days a week. I don't really get a break, because it's like Monday through Friday, I'm at work. And then at Friday night, I'm hanging out with you guys. But I don't really consider this work, because I like hanging out with you guys. And I like sharing information and stuff like that with you guys. So, but then Saturday, I wake up in the morning, housework, do my orders and stuff like that, meet with customers and everything like that. Sunday, same thing. Sunday, I'm meeting with customers, doing orders and stuff. Sundays is usually the days where, especially in the afternoons and in the evenings, that's when the customers come to actually pick up their items. So, I really do have to work hard on Saturday and Saturday evening, because I want to make sure that everything is nicely packaged and everything for when they come pick it up and stuff like that. So, but usually I do pretty good, because, I always meet my deadlines and stuff. And my customers are pretty understanding. They're pretty understanding, because they know and stuff like that. And they know that when they have bulk orders, they got to book me way in advance. When they have ones or twosies, like the lady with the bunny and stuff, she just reached out to me like 2 days ago. and she was like, can you embroider a bunny? That's not going to take all day. That's just going to take a little bit, right? So I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'll squeeze in little small orders in the middle of my bulk orders, because at the same time, it's a nice change to do something different, because sometimes when you're embroidering the same shirt over and over again, you're like, you can go a little crazy, but it's okay. So I'm like, all right, so I'll just slide in the bunny. It's all right, and stuff. And I'm telling you, there's is a really big demand out there for small order embroideries, because a lot of companies just like to do the big orders, right? Because they're like, nope, the order's got to be at least 100 items, or it has to meet a certain threshold in cost, because they won't even turn on the machines because it's not worthwhile for them. But for me, I already got my machines running, and if I could just slide something in there, I'll slide it in. It's okay. Yeah. So yeah, 40 years. He's retired. Retired. Um, let's see. Anything else out there? Let's see. Anybody have any questions? Hey Nancy, how you doing? Late today, but finally home. But you made it. You made it. Let's see. Let's see. Hi, Mellow. Everybody's saying hi to Mellow. Let's see. It is wonderful that we have this community and Jeanette to spend our Fridays with and share our passions. SK. Oh, thank you. I enjoy our Fridays. I really do. And I like sharing with you guys, things that I'm learning and all that kind of stuff and everything. Because this can be it can be such a rewarding thing to do. I just love embroidery. I really do. But I also know how complicated it can be. It can really be, and especially in the beginning. In the beginning, you're like excited, and then you do your first design. But then, as you start to really start doing more, you do start to slowly understand that, I mean, it's fun, but it's a little more than just pressing that start button. It's there's some little thinking that you have to do. You got to do your homework before you actually turn that button on. And that's a lot of things that people don't sometimes understand. And there's a lot of things that really it's involved in this whole process. It's a really big process. It really is. And it can be expensive. It really can, especially if this is something that you want to do. Yeah. So it can get kind of big. So, but I'm glad, that I'm able to share what I learned and stuff. Um, do you think that she washed the items in warm water that caused me? I don't know, Miss McFate, how she washed those items, but I mean, the the other lady that was talking to me about it, it was her customer, so I don't know what the customer shared with her, or even if she had asked the customer how she washed it. But it was a new thread that they were using, because she said she was trying to cut costs, because this stuff can get expensive. Thread is expensive, needles and all that kind of stuff. So she said she was trying to, cut costs, so that, because as prices go up, right? Your prices that you charge is going to go up as well. So she was trying to avoid that. She was trying to keep her prices, low for her customers. But in the process of doing that, that's when she decided to try to choose cheaper thread, and that's what happened. And she said that was like the biggest mistake she made. And she said that it was the month of hell, because it was a very busy month for her. And to have the customer return with all the shirts with all the bleeding, in the process of running the orders that she had to get done that month, she had to squeeze in an additional bulk order. So she said it was a month where hardly no sleep, working a lot of overtime and stuff, and she just, she just said, Jeanette, it's just stick with what works. Sometimes you got to stick with what works, and if you want to change stuff like that, she told me, make sure that you test it. Make sure that you are that you're you're really looking at what, make sure that stabilizer is good quality stabilizer. Make sure that thread doesn't bleed, because if not, it's going to cost you in the long run. And it bothered her. It bothered her a lot, because it was a lot of shirts, and at the same time, she didn't want, she didn't, her reputation, because think about it, the customer, of course, I think the customer would be like, oh, well, she replaced the shirts. But at the same time, I don't know if the customer would say, oh, I'll use her again. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want that situation, yeah. So I don't know why it bled. She didn't share that, but she did say that it was, that she changed the brand of the thread. She was trying to save money that way, and it didn't work out like that. Oh, Rita, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, Rita lost her pet and stuff. I know that's hard when you lose a pet. It's like, ugh, it sucks. Let's see. I'm going down to see if I see any more questions that you guys might have. Hey, Liliana, very good information. Love it. You learned so much this year. Liliana, a lot of what I learned had to do with you, girl. For you guys that don't know, Liliana is someone that I follow a lot. And I have learned, if you guys think I'm smart, I mean, I'm going to tell you something. A lot of what I learned is because of this lady right here. Okay. So she has her channel. That's her channel in Broke Print Now. And, but she does her channel in Spanish. But if you watch her, if you don't know Spanish, that's fine. I say subscribe to her anyway and watch her, because you'll see what she's doing and you can learn a lot from it and stuff. Like lately, she bought a torch, and she using the torch to burn off the threads, the tails in the back of the embroidery. Well, I saw your video, Liliana. I bought the torch. I have to buy the gas to put in the torch and stuff. I'm a little afraid of fire, but I saw how you were clicking it, so I'm actually going to try it, and I want to see if it works, because I do have some designs, like the flowery designs that it's like letters that are a bunch of flowers. It's a great design, but the problem with that design is because there's so many change colors, there's a lot of tails that are behind that design. So that's the reason why I haven't been using it. But when I saw that you bought the torch and you were burning off the tails, I was thinking maybe that's what I should do with that actual font, with that font. So I'm going to give that a shot. But I still have to get the gas though to put inside of it, and then I'm gonna tell Fred to put the gas for me and stuff. But yeah, but she is the one that teaches me. I watch her channel a lot, and she has helped me so much. You have no idea. I have always, even and what I love about Liliana is that if I'm working on something, I'm not too sure, I know I can text her, and she got it. She's been doing this for like over, I think, 25 years. So she's really like the queen of embroidery, and stuff. She's really, really good. In order to get monetized by you, you have to show the commercials. So this is how we get monetized. Thanks so much. It helps. It does. Yes, guys. I mean, I know that the commercials are annoying. I got it, but just skip them and stuff. But that is how we get paid. You know what I'm saying? And stuff. Yeah, and any little bit counts, honestly. Yeah. Did you get the cart from Michael's or IKEA? I actually got it from Michael's. I actually got that from Michael's. And guys, I actually changed my sewing room. I know last weekend I did that embroidery sewing room tour. I changed up the sewing room. It is so much neater. And I am going to do a video of the sewing room only and show you guys the changes that I made. I'm not going to do it on a live or anything like that. I'm just going to do a short video so that you guys can see how that sewing room looks. I love it. I actually go in there just to sit. And you guys will see what I did. Because even though I showed it to you that way, I really wasn't happy with the way it was. But I'm going to leave that for the video. I'm planning on filming that this weekend. As a matter of fact, let me write that down too. The sewing room. I have to do the sewing room for you guys and show you guys the little changes that I made to it. I think you guys are going to be happy with the way it came out. So now I'm very, very content with the way the two rooms are laid out. I think it's coming out. I'm going to love it. I really am. Sometimes the tiny stitches are part of a smaller font and are necessary to not have the bulk of the tie-off stitches. Yes, it's a pain to trim them. I only trim the top stitches. Yes, it is true. Yeah, and that's a very good point, SK, because true. Because then what's going to happen is what he's saying, or she's saying, SK, what SK is saying, and I don't think I have something like that, but all right, like for instance here, see how you have all this bunch, right? So sometimes, you know, you have all those tails, right? So that's why sometimes they don't do they don't cut, you know, you'll have a bunch of, that's why they don't trim them. But what Lillian does is she takes this torch and she just goes real quick with the, and you don't even need a torch. I think you could do like a lighter or something like that. You could just burn off the tails and they just like fall off and stuff, and seals it and stuff. So yeah. Cutting by hand saves you more money in the long run because replacing the machine knife is costly. Very good point. Very good point. Spoken by the master, the queen. See, that's the other thing. See, that's something you don't think about. And I didn't even think about that. She's right. Those knives are not cheap. They're not cheap. And you do have to replace them because they do get dull. And the more you use them, you know, the more dull. So, yeah. So, thank you, Liliana. I didn't even think about the knife. Did not even think about that. Hey, Mary, you're so appreciated. Once I tried the embroidery feature on my Etsy 600, I was smitten. I have been learning so much from you. Aw, have fun with your machine. Have fun with your machine. Let's see. Oh, Creative Fabrica, someone got sued. They did? I thought Creative Fabrica had the license or something. Ooh, I have to read up on that. I have to see what happened. I totally understand. I did some mini country flags for a friend to set it tied off. Oh my God, the destiny of the passion was nuts due to the thread ends. Never again. What do you think of candle thread? I do have candle thread. The thing with the candle thread was, I think it was the shipping McFake that, you know, I mean, I know a lot of people use it. It seems to be good. I don't have any problems with it. I really don't. The thing is that, and I even have their color chart, and they have a lot of colors and stuff like that. I have not bought replacement colors from them, so I don't know how stable they are with their colors. If they change their dye at all, like I don't want to have this situation, right? But I've been doing mostly Madeira though, and I think the reason why I do the Madeira is because I am so, as you can see, I have so much thread. Okay, so I'm not going to go and buy like a lot of threads. When I do buy the threads, it's usually to replace a certain color, you know, colors that I'm running low on. So I usually just buy the material because when I go to allstitch.com, I could buy their threads and then I could buy my needles and anything else that I need, stabilizer, needles, and stuff like that. Sometimes I do buy stabilizer from Allstitch as well. So, but from what I heard from people, they're good threads. The ones that I have used them. I haven't had an issue with them. I noticed that it's more on the matted side. Okay, they're not like super shiny like the Flor Annie, this brand. Okay, like this one's super shiny, but I noticed, or it could be the colors that I got. They're more on the matted side, which is fine. Which is fine, you know. I mean, the only time I really worry about whether a thread is shiny or not is if a customer is very specific about it. Sometimes, a lot of times, customers really aren't. They just need to make sure that it has the right shade of the color on their logo and stuff like that. So, you know, but from what I have never heard anything negative about them. I really haven't. Let's see. I have Brother 19. Hooping is hard for me. I bought the hooping station, but the hoops are hard. Is there magnetic hoops for my machine? There is a magnetic hoop for the SC1900, but it's kind of different, Mary. This is more for floating, okay, for floating items. Let me give you an example. I have one right here. Well, both came out actually. Okay, these are usually. This is usually for the SC1900. This is the hoop that you usually are working with, right? This is the 5x7. For the magnetic hoop for the SC1900, this is what they look like, okay? They're not like the mighty hoops that you see people use on the multi-needle machines. These magnetic hoops are actually flat, okay? And they're usually more used for floating items, okay? So these are the magnets that comes with it, and you just put it on here. I do have videos on the channel. If you go on this channel and you type magnetic hoop SC1900, you will see that I have a video on this one, and I also have a video on the 5x12 magnetic hoop, which is the repositioning hoop for the SC1900. Okay. You know, these are good. The only thing is that because it's like this and it has these magnets, you got to make sure that, I would probably buy some extra magnets as well. Okay, because the thing is, you don't want the fabric to shift while you are embroidering, because once your fabric shifts, then your design's going to be off. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have this stable. What you could do to make sure your fabric doesn't shift is, as you can see, the back of mine has all this sticky stuff on here, because I like to use sticky stabilizer. Sticky stabilizer kind of holds the fabric a little more in place. Plus, I put these magnets on top, and that really helps to prevent from shifting as well. But these are the magnetic hoops that you can use with the SC1900. Okay. Yeah, Brother does sell the magnetic hoops, but I don't know, Tina, if it's for the SC1900. I could be wrong. I don't know if they got something new, but I know that they have had the magnetic hoops for the multi-needle machines for sure. That I do know. Love my torch. So Marissa's using the torch too. Everybody loves the torch. Oh my God. Everybody loves that. Good night, Tina. Have a good night. The NIS is $20. It costs more than the technician coming to replace. Oh, I guess the knife. The knife is $20. It costs more to replace it for you. I paid $200. Imagine you do that for all the machines. Yeah. The knife that's why I like to get my machine serviced every every year I have Justin come, and he always checks the knives for me and stuff. And I think he's already replaced some of my knives for me because I've been bordering so much and stuff. Yeah, I've heard of that, Evelyn, and I do have some rayon threads, but I have the light colors. I don't have the dark colors. So maybe that's what it was, that it was that. I don't know. Today, because of the cold temperature, a pipe burst in the basement and it flooded my craft room. It's a mess. Oh no. Thank goodness we were able to get a plumber to replace the pipe. Oh man, I hope it didn't mess up your embroidery room. Your embroidery machine. I hope that's okay. Liliana said, I have used Japanese threads for the past 25 years. These are polyester 40 weight, very good quality, and I also use Madeira for Xperia orders only. Oh, I have to look at see about those Japanese threads. Hate to say goodnight, get a little bit late. Stay safe. Yes, it is getting late, and I think I got everybody in the chat, and I think we are good. So yeah, it is. Look at that. It's 11 o'clock. So yeah, so we've been on for quite some time, but I answered all your questions and stuff. And guys, I hope you found today's topic really, really interesting and good. You know, I know there's a lot of embroidery confusion out there, and I hope that I kind of made things a little bit easier and less confusing for you. You know, and I hope you enjoyed the topic and stuff. If you did like tonight's live, please seriously give me that thumbs up. And if you are new here, welcome, and please consider subscribing. Like I said, I was looking at my stats and I saw that 49% of the folks that watch me haven't subscribed. So please consider subscribing because that does help the channel a lot. And if you know of anybody that, you know, would probably benefit from the information that I'm sharing, please share the channel with your friends and your family so that way they can also learn as well and stuff. So guys, I am going to call it the night, and I'm going to probably spend some time with Fred because he is now retired. And then I'm going to get some sleep because I got to get up early in the morning and start working. So I will talk to you guys later. You guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys next Friday. Have a good one. Bye. Have a good night, everyone.